Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What is Open Mic? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take time to take some live questions. But here on Saturdays, that's all we like to do is just take live open mic questions, whatever it is you guys want to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about here today. And we've got a lot of stuff that you guys have been sending in for us to talk about. And there is a lot of stuff for us guys to get to talk about. I got a New England Patriot game a little bit later. Might be the final game of the GOAT of all GOATs. Tom Brady might be his final game. I don't know. We'll have to see that a little bit later. But before we get into anything else, and this is really something that isn't a great topic for open mic, but I have got to talk about this because I'm just going to burst if I don't talk about this. Now, you guys will remember that yesterday on the John Campea Show, because I got a lot of people asking about it, I decided to discuss and address the situation going on at Collider, the place I started, at least the video side of it, and left a number of years ago. And you know, I tried to be as diplomatic, I tried to be as fair, and quite frankly, I try to be as supportive as possible. I called things for what they are. I also said, hey, from a business point of view, I get it. And if you guys saw my video yesterday, I think you may have liked what I said. You may have not liked what I said. But I think what we can all agree on, at least I hope, is that I tried to at least be fair. I tried to at least be fair. And say, you know, they're going to go in a certain direction and whatever, and that's cool, that's fine. Yeah, maybe they should have let everybody have one farewell episode. Yeah, they probably should have given their talent who have poured blood, sweat, and tears into that place more than 1 hour's notice before dumping them and telling the rest of the world that their show got canceled just an hour after they... Okay, yeah, but I said that. But I also said, you know, hey, they want to go in a new direction. It's their prerogative. It's their thing. And let's see what they do. And maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be awesome. And yay, team. Yay, team. And I tried. Now, I want to be very clear about something here. From the day that I left Collider, I never once spoke about them. And one of the reasons that I never spoke about anything going on over at Collider and whatnot and everything is partially because people online love drama. And no matter what I said, like I would even avoid saying the name Collider. I would say the place I used to work because I know that anything I said about Collider, somebody would take and twist in a negative way, no matter what. I could have said, hey, Collider is starting a fund to help orphan seals in the world. I could have said something great like that, and somebody would have found some way to twist it and make it look negative and blah, blah, blah. So, for years, I just never said a thing. You know what? I never said a thing. A lot of stuff went on over there. I always just completely kept my mouth shut. I said, nope, that's not my place to get involved there. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to reference anybody there. I'm not going to say anything. And I stayed absolutely quiet for 2.5 years until yesterday. And yesterday, I tried to still be very fair. And I thought I was very even-handed, and I thought I was fair. But I cannot not say something about this. This is something I cannot stay quiet on. Now, there is a little dick weasel that works over at Collider by the name of Jack Hind. I've never met this kid. I've never met this infant, this child who knows nothing. I've never met this kid. All right? So I've never had any opinion about him. I just never had any opinion about him. So yesterday, on the heels of Collider, which again, as I said yesterday, they made some decisions that they wanted to make for their own company. That's within their right. Let's see what happens, blah, blah, blah. But after canceling all the shows that made Collider what it is, guess what? Nobody knows the fucking name Collider Video if it wasn't for all those people and all those shows and that community that was built, and 600,000 subscribers later, none of that exists. And this rolling around in his diapers, Jack Hind Dickzit, wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for all those things. All right? But they pulled the plug on it. Okay, new direction. I get it. It happens. Fine. This jackass, this insufferable little fucktwit gets on Twitter yesterday, and I'm going to show you what this kid, now this kid, Jack Hind, he is the number 2 guy from everything that I'm told. He is the number 2 guy over at Collider. He is the number 2 guy over at Collider, okay? Other than the big guy who owns it, next, the most influential guy over there is this kid, Jack Hind, who I don't even know if he's reached puberty yet. But there was an event yesterday because Colliders decided to go in the direction of celebrity bullshit. Fine. They have this event. Apparently it was a very nice event. And what this individual decided to tweet out, I was at a loss for words. Here's what it was. Now, Scott Mantz, who, by the way, just to be clear, I was just talking on the phone with Scott Mantz about a week ago. I have all the respect in the world for Scott Mantz. I love Scott Mantz. Let's just be clear about it. This has nothing to do with Scott. Scott's a wonderful individual. I have all the respect in the world for Scott Mantz. Scott Mantz very excitedly tweets out this thing about how he did this Q&A with the cast of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, part of the For Your Consideration Collider show that they're doing, which is awesome. That's great. Fantastic. By the way, just so you know, the last episode, I had some people writing to me to point this out. The last episode of Jedi Council on that show has more views than every episode of For Your Consideration put together. Just want to put that out there. But on top of this great positive thing that Scott Mantz puts out, this sharing this great fun moment and all that kind of stuff, wonderful tweet that he put out. This number 2 guy, this leader over Collider, on the day that they announce that they've canceled all these shows that made Collider what it is, at least Collider Video, he decides to take a swing at everybody who's ever worked on any of those shows and any fan who has ever followed any of those shows when he said the following: I wonder why Collider chose to focus their resources on industry professional content and not daily movie commentary and fart jokes. This is the number 2 guy at Collider. All right? And he better thank whatever fucking God he worships that I wasn't there. But this insufferable jackass writes, on a day that people lost their jobs and that fans lost content that they've been following for years, content that built that place into what it is, and the only reason this moron's got a job and how he has this job, I have no idea. He writes, gosh, I threw in the gosh myself, just to be clear. I wonder why Collider chose to focus their resources on industry professional content and not daily movie commentary and fart jokes. Let me get back into that in a minute. Another individual who took issue with what Jack Hind, number 2 guy at Collider, had to say. Another individual who took issue with what he had to say was a former staff member over there, Ken Knapsack. Now, I haven't spoken to Ken Knapsack. I'm not just trying to jump to Ken Knapsack's thing. He's a big guy. He can take care of himself. But Ken Knapsack called it to task, called this quote to task. Ken, referring to what Jack just did, is dancing on the graves of people who just lost their jobs and lost their health insurance and whatever. And listen, by the way, let me rephrase here again. Let me point out again. Hard decisions need to be made in business. Hard decisions need to be made in business sometimes. I've been a leader. I've had to make unpopular decisions. I've had to say unpopular things. I've had to do unpopular things that sometimes rub people the wrong way. I've sometimes had to take people's jobs away. When you're in leadership, sometimes you need to do the hard thing. I get it. And if you saw my video yesterday, I don't blame them for that. But then coming out that day and unprovokedly writing nonsense like this. Anyway, Ken Knapsack decided to call him out on it. And in response, Jack Hind wrote the following. Sorry, the daily shows and the weekly shows you were all on did not perform well enough to stay around. It sucks, it really does. But the YouTube community didn't support you in the channel, only now once it's gone. I read this and I'm like, this can't be real. This cannot be real. And then, and you'll have to forgive me because I didn't pull a screenshot of it, this Jack Hind kid later on goes on to say, it's just that all these so-called fans getting mad at us now. Why weren't they thanking us that we kept this content on as long as we did? Why weren't they thanking you? Why weren't the fans and the movie fan community who built that place, who are the reason that place exists, who are the reason you have a job, and you're sitting there lamenting out loud that they should be thanking you? And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to call you out I'm going to call it right now. I was texting back and forth this morning with Mark Fernandez. And I might be getting one or two of the words wrong here, but basically what I said was, dude, this says a lot about your company that you have a moron with clearly no experience, no wisdom, and no discernment whatsoever working on your staff. Now, I'm not going to tell you what Mark wrote in reply to me because I'll leave that between Mark and Jack. I'll let Mark and Jack work that out themselves. But I'm like, this speaks volumes about your company, that you've got a guy with no experience, no intelligence, clearly no wisdom, and clearly no discernment publicly representing your company. He's your number 2 guy. I would like to remind Jack Hind about a couple of things. I'd like to remind this insignificant little dickzit about a couple of little things here. First of all, this movie commentary and fart jokes. You want to know what Collider Video was before those commentary and fart joke shows? You want to know what Collider Video was? It was this pathetic little YouTube presence that did nothing but post movie trailers. Posted movie trailers and film clips from other movies. That's all it was. It was a click once and then leave kind of content. And I remember when Complex was courting me to come over there, and we were talking about me bringing everything over to Complex, and I sat down with one of the vice presidents, senior vice president of the company. And he was like, wow, these videos get views, like trailers and trailer clips. I said, yes, but let's dive into the analytics. How many people are actually subscribing to the channel as a result of watching these individual videos? And we went through them, and it was nil. Nobody was subscribing to the channel because that type of content, while maybe getting you a couple of cheap clicks, it does not develop community. And it doesn't develop brand loyalty. And it doesn't develop brand identification. It breeds none of that. It's a quick click on a link and then disappear, and they won't even know the name of the YouTube channel that did it. And I sat down with the vice president of Complex and walked him through all the analytics and pointed out. And then I pointed them out to some other little videos that had smaller views, but had a massively higher subscription rate that people would click on subscribe as a result of watching those videos. And they were videos that cultivated and nurtured brand loyalty, brand identity, and community. Community. These little commentary and fart joke shows, as this moron puts it, establish Collider Video as a major name. People like Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis and John Schnepp and infinite numbers of others who work their asses off to make those commentary and fart joke shows built the foundation of the playground you now get to play in. You get to play in the playground and in the ballpark that those people built. You insufferable, ungrateful little piece of shit. You should be on your hands and fucking knees thanking whatever God you worship that those commentary and fart joke shows were around to give you a place to have the job that you gave you the opportunity to run it all into the ground. And by the way, let's talk about that for a second too. Talking about this whole thing about, oh, the fans should be grateful that we kept these shows around as long as we did. And, oh, sorry that the shows you were on, Ken, that the people didn't watch them. I'll tell you what right now. As I sat back here from a distance, watching this place that I had developed and built, slowly over 2 years, run headfirst into the ground, I'll tell you what one thing I always knew was never the problem. It wasn't the talent. It wasn't the talent. And I would sit there all the time and go to my wife, oh my God, you should see what they're doing over there now. They're doing this to the show and they're doing that to the show and they did this and they did this and they did this. And it was never about the talent. It was never about the talent. You guys took 100,000+ view a day commentary and fart joke show and you ran it into the ground. You burned it with some of the most mind-boggling, butt-fuck stupid decisions I could possibly imagine. And I've sat here for 2.5 years and kept my mouth shut about it. I've never talked about any individuals, and I still won't, other than this fool. I've never talked about it. I never brought it up, never said it, tried to be supportive. And I never spoke one bad word about any individual there. Not one bad word did I ever get on a public forum. And ever in 2.5 years did I say one negative thing about anybody there. And now you, the leader of that place, you come out here and you throw those people under the bus the day and the day after they lost their jobs and they lost their shows. You spit in the face of the fans who supported this show from when it was 100,000 views a day all the way down to even after you ran it into the ground. And we're still there and we're still faithful and you spit in their face again. Let me tell you something about this new direction you're going in, all right? Let me tell you something about where's this fucking idiotic thing this dude said. Here we go. Let's talk about this. And I wonder why Collider chose to focus on all their resources on industry professional content. Industry professional content. Slapping George Lucas's face on an actor doing some 2007 jokes. That's professional industry content. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, and I mean this wholeheartedly. The first couple of those deepfake videos weren't just good, they were fucking great. They were fucking great. Make no mistake about them. They were funny and creative and whatever. And it was great. And I remember me and a couple of friends watched them like, oh my God, these are amazing. That was such a good job. Well done. And just like a rat that finds its ways through a maze, it's like, oh, that worked. Oh, let's do it again. And let's do it again, and let's do it again, and let's do it again, and let's do it again. And it's getting real tired real fast. And guess what? The novelty of this whole thing is going to wear off. And by the way, the deepfake stuff, 6 months to a year from now, every kid in their mom's basement is going to have software that can do it. There's already a bunch of other YouTube channels that are built on deepfake that do it much more successfully and better. And it's just going to become more and more dominant as more and more kids. It's going to be like in the 90s when web design used to be a big professional thing. Then every kid in the world had the tools to build websites. That's what's going to happen with the deep fake stuff. And let's talk more about this professional industry content. Celebrity shit is fog. It's fog. Let's wait and see how many views. I mean, look, I might be totally wrong. We may find out that this whole Once Upon a Time in Hollywood event that they did, and I'm sure because Scott rules at this stuff, I'm sure Scott Mance knocked it out of the park. Maybe that little video will get 500,000 views. Maybe it will. I'm guessing it won't. And look, as I said, I don't mind that the company made a decision for themselves that they wanted to go in a new direction. That's fine. But when you come out publicly and start shitting on all the work that came before, that puts you in a position that you could even do this stuff, and you shit on all the audience who, you must have been stupid to watch these commentary and fart joke shows. You spit in the face of the fans. You spit in the face of those who built a community. See, all this shit that you're trying to do right now, it's all empty calorie clicks. That's all it is. Celebrity bullshit, this deep fake nonsense. It's all great if it's just accents to your core foundation. Celebrity stuff is fine. Deep fake, that stuff can be really good if it's accents to your core foundation. And your core foundation needs to build brand loyalty, build brand identification, and build community. Build community. This accent stuff doesn't do any of those things. They are just like back in the day when all the Collider YouTube channel was throwing up studios trailers. It's empty clicks that didn't create any engagement, created no brand loyalty, and created no community. Collider Video has been blessed for the last number of years of having a loyal community. And even a segment of that community that stayed loyal as you drove the programming deep into the grave. When you misused incredibly talented people, you didn't properly support incredibly talented people, you didn't properly leverage incredibly talented people and put them in the best positions to succeed or surround them with the right talent to accentuate what they had, and instead, you're constantly changing everything about it, swapping chairs in and out, move them into the studio that has the audio quality of an 8th grade empty gym class. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. But all this nonsense you're building right now, none of it builds brand loyalty, none of it builds brand identification, and none of it builds community. It's great as accent stuff to other programming that it does. You want to go that direction? That's perfectly fine. That's within your purview to do it. But how dare you shit on the work that so many people had done to build that place and give you an opportunity to even make these stupid decisions? It's insufferable. It's insufferable. And I've sat on this. I have no idea how Collider has somebody who's in a power position like this, who clearly has no common sense, has no discernment, and clearly has no wisdom. And look, we all do and say stupid things. You guys know I will do and say stupid things. You do and say stupid things. It happens. But on the day that people lose their jobs, on the day that you've taken away core foundational shows that built that place with a loyal fan base who stuck in there even when you ran into the ground, on that day, to come out and make comments like this, on that day, to respond to a guy who was a loyal soldier over there in a Ken knapsack and respond to him with this sort of smugness. I'm sorry, I will take one Ken knapsack over an army of Dick Zits like Jack Hind, whatever the fuck his stupid name is. I'll take one Ken knapsack over that. Anyway, this wasn't meant to be a big long rant video, but I saw that and I don't know. And now clearly, let's not be facetious. Clearly, I also take this personally. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. It's like, guess what, kid? You've got a job because of what I fucking built. So don't you get online and start talking shit about that stuff. You should be thanking Ken Knapsack. You should be thanking Christian Harloff. You should be thanking all those people, Perry Nemiroff and everything. You should be thanking all these people. Thank you so much. You should take your hat in your hand, get on your fucking knees, and you should say, thank you so much for building this place to what it is. Thank you so much for building this place so I can even have a job here to take it in a different direction if that's what I want to do. So instead of running your stupid mouth, shut your mouth, know your role, get on your hands and knees, and you fucking thank those people. Anyway. So, with that complete meltdown, I tell you what, I went to the gym this morning with Ann. Ann and I went to the gym this morning and she was like, you are so distracted. I'm like, honey, you have no idea. She knew what was going on. It's just been boiling in my head all day that something that stupid would be said. And it's infuriating. Oh my God, it's infuriating. But anyway, with all that down, guys, let's get to what matters. Not John's little meltdown. Who cares about John's little whine, bitch, and moan session? There, I got my whining and bitching and moaning out of the way. So my little cry, boo-hoo session is out of the way. But let me throw in one more thing here. This little thing they seem to devalue so much. You look around the interweb. There's a lot of different places that understand the value of building community. Hell, even like the Star Wars, hating sites and stuff like that, they understand the value of community. It's built on community. And we can have communities online that have vastly different points of view and vastly different things, and we can disagree and we can never. But even at least at the foundation, all those sides, including those sides, understand the value and importance of community and what building that can do for a brand. For you to spit in the face of everybody. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, fuck that guy. All right, let's move on and take your live questions. This is the stuff you guys have been sending in. Actually, this goes all the way back to last night. You guys started firing in questions early last night. I apologize for those of you who did not come here to hear John Campea whine, bitch, moan, and cry session. But I had to get that out of my system or I just wouldn't have been able to go through the show at all. So anyway, let's pick up with this thing, shall we? And we're going to start things off here with 50 Shades of Geek, who writes, being an Israeli Jewish man with no family connection to the Holocaust, my life was forever changed when I went to Poland for a school trip. Jojo Rabbit reopened so many wounds for me, reminding me of why it's important to forgive, but not forget, as we Israelis say. And I remember yesterday, 50 Shades was writing in that he finally had a chance yesterday to watch Jojo Rabbit, which I was really impressed to find out that it was even playing in Israel, because I honestly didn't think they would play that movie in Israel. I was glad to hear that they did. 50 Shades also writes, John, over under 25% that Mando says, I have spoken in a climactic moment in season 2 to honor his fallen comrade. Just once, not in every episode, maybe season finale, maybe when killing Gideon. I know Mando has a name, I just don't remember it. Oh, it's okay, 50 Shades, I don't remember his name either. And you know what? I'm going to go over 25%. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it does happen, it can only happen once, and it has to be said to Moff Gideon. Because, of course, Moff Gideon is responsible for the death of Keel. So it has to be just once, and it has to be to Moff Gideon. And I'm not saying it will happen, but I feel pretty good that it's over 25%. I'll take over 25% because what an amazing moment that would be. Fans all over the world will freak out if he says that. I have spoken. Before, oh my God, people would freak out. People would absolutely freak out. All right, Ulysses Smith III writes, sends in a $50 tip. So, I mean... if there's a question in here, it will be answered in its own standalone video, but let's address it here quick. Thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level, Ulysses. John, hope you're all well. If okay, I need advice on something that you normally don't talk about since it's not about movies, but relationship advice. Dude, I'm the worst guy in the world to ask about relationship advice, but I'll see what I can do. I need help since I'm pursuing a Filipina and you're married to a Filipina. What can I do to marry her one day? Well, I'll tell you what, Ulysses, not really a movie question, so I probably probably won't take this and make it its own standalone video. Hope you understand why. But let me see if I can address this. I mean, honestly, I nothing. A Filipino girl is, like my wife, 105 pounds of Filipino fury. It's the same things. They want to see authentic thing in you. And again, I'm the worst guy in the world for relationship. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to relationship advice, but they want to see authenticity. They want to feel respected. They want to feel like they matter, just like every person does. And really there's not much else beyond that. The only other thing I can really maybe begin to speculate on, and this is true of several different cultures and demographics, of course, including mine, Italian and whatever, but, family's a really big deal to Filipino families. Family is a real big deal to Filipinos. So maybe, make sure that her family matters to you and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, and again, I am the worst person in the world to ask, but honestly, there is really no difference between what would appeal to and attract a Filipino girl as opposed to any other type of individual. It's really all the same basic stuff, and there has to be a click, there has to be a spark, there has to be chemistry, and if there's not, there's nothing I could tell you is going to make her like you. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do. And if you're ever in a position where you feel like you have to find a way to manipulate the other person into liking you, then you're in the wrong relationship. Then you should just move on from that anyway. So my best advice is going to be the stupidest Hallmark card stereotypical advice one can possibly give. But that's all I got, which is be yourself. And find out if the chemistry is there. And you're not going to know if the chemistry is there unless you're just being yourself. So that is the terrible but best advice I can possibly give you on that, Ulysses. So best of luck to your brother. I hope things go well. All right. An anonymous viewer also writes in a $50 tip. So if there's a question here, we will make a standalone video out of this. Thank you for sending that in, Anonymous. And he writes, hope your 2020 is beyond great, John. So far, so good. I was wondering, how can a regular nobody like me become my own boss and successfully start my own business or company like a regular somebody like you? Whether YouTube, online, open a bakery, or anyway, I ask because I don't know where the rest of that went. So I'm not quite sure where you're going with that. But anyway, I asked because I blank. All right. The best thing, and I will answer this in its own video as it pertains to YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But let me just touch on this quickly. The key thing to accomplishing anything is starting. That also sounds Hallmark card cliche-ish, but it is the most overlooked and the most true thing about any of this. Too many people have a goal and they sit on their ass waiting for somebody else to come along and hand them the keys to that goal. Too many people sit on their ass and wait for somebody else to come along and hand them the keys to their goal instead of doing little things every single day to move you towards that goal. So I'll go more into that on its own topic, Anonymous, but really the key to it is start. You want to open a bakery? Start baking. Just start baking. And do it more and do it more. Start researching, start reading, all that kind of stuff. You want to do a YouTube channel? Start doing it. Just start doing it. The key to all of it is just starting. Get moving, get starting. That's how I made my own sad little movie. That's how I wrote my own little sad book. That's how I got my own little sad YouTube channel going. That's how it's done. Start. And that's the point, the thing that no one ever wants to do. They never actually want to do the work and they never want to start. So that to me is the key thing, Anonymous. All right. Ben Burnside writes, 11. I'm guessing this is Ben's a top 5. 11, Attack of the Clones. Number 10, Phantom Menace. Number 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Number 8, Solo. Number 7, The Force Awakens. Number 6, Revenge of the Sith. Number 5, Rogue One. Number 4, A New Hope. Number 3, The Last Jedi. Number 2, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 1, Return of the Jedi. 1 and 2 switch daily. Yeah, I mean, look, I would take The Last Jedi out. I mean, to me, and that's a great list, Ben. To me, there are 3 definitive quadrants of the Star Wars movies. There are the original trilogy, which are so far above everything else, it's not even discussable. And that's just to me. Clearly it is to you. I'm just saying to me. Then you have underneath that, significantly underneath that, is the new batch of films that Disney's done. And then under those, you have the prequels. And then way on the bottom is the animated Clone Wars movie, which I think everybody agrees with on that one. So that's how I kind of do them. But everybody will have their own order and list and appreciate. Like you've got The Last Jedi that you clearly appreciate a lot more than I do or some other people do. And that's great. That's what the love of film is. So I'm glad you shared your list, man. Thank you for putting it up there. All right. Shriek writes, when do you think Darkseid will be in the DC movies? I don't know. Not for a while. Not for a while. You see, they're really focusing right now on standalone individual films. And I think the next thing closest to any kind of a crossover is going to be, I think you're going to see Black Adam in Shazam 2, I think. If not then at least Shazam 3. You're going to see those two cross over pretty soon. But right now, DC seems pretty focused on just telling individual standalone stories, and it's working for them, by the way. It's working for them better than anything in the DCU worked for them. I'm not saying they're better than all the DCU movies. I'm just saying they're clearly working very well for them. So I think it's probably going to be a while. I would not hold my breath. Darkseid's a character you save for the next Justice League, and I think we are years away from the next Justice League. So it's going to be a little bit, Shriek. It's going to be a little bit. All right. Russell Amador writes, hey, John, not sure if you've seen this, but can you smell what The Rock is cooking? He shared a post via the Instagram, officially beginning workouts for Black Adam. I did see this, and I don't know much of the mythos, but who do you think would be the villain? I have telepathy. And again, I have telepathy is not there. I want to hear it, but anyway. Oh, and by the way, there was somebody shared with me yesterday an article. It might have been The Wrap. Somebody shared with me an article on The Wrap where somebody from The Wrap actually talked to somebody involved with Marvel, and they said, yeah, I have telepathy is not there. So, I mean, go look it up. Anyway, that's a side note. I have no idea. And I don't even know, because look, if you look at the mythology they're using for Black Adam in this movie world, because remember, they told the origin of Black Adam in the Shazam movie, and he's not a good guy that has a villain to fight. So we don't know if they're going to make him an anti-hero in this movie, if there's going to be a straight up villain in this movie, and we follow and watch his progression to becoming an anti-hero. I just don't know what they're going to do with him at this point. So at this point, Russell, I'm not even 100% sure there's going to be a villain in the film. I know that sounds weird. I'm just saying right now, I'm not even sure there's going to be a quote unquote traditional understanding of a villain. So it's going to be very interesting to see what approach they decide to take. I, for one, would really be curious to see a more fleshed out story of that origin that we saw in the first Shazam. With him, going mad and all that kind of stuff. I would really like to see that. But they might want to pick it up much further down the line. And maybe he's already an anti-hero. I don't know. But I can't really say who I think the villain would be because I'm not even sure there's going to be a villain. It might be Black Adam himself. But we'll have to wait and see. And by the way, if you have not seen that picture of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson working out for Black Adam, oh my God. I mean, first of all, The Rock always looks, rock solid. No pun intended, but holy crap, he looks huge. Absolutely huge. All right. It's Gwent writes. Gunnit writes, hey, John, I was wondering if you were aware of the band Coheed and Cambria. Nope, I'm not. Hoping Netflix would pick up the concept story / comics the band's albums are based around, like Jared Way and Umbrella Academy. Your thoughts? Thanks. Filthy is the way. Well, unfortunately, it's Gunnit. I don't really have a thought on it because I don't know. I've never heard of them. So I can't say. So therefore, I clearly have no idea what anything is based on. I don't know anything about them. So unfortunately, but listen, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this video right now who do know what you're talking about. And if you guys do, jump into the comments and let It's Gunnit know what you think about that and leave him your thoughts there. That's the best thing about community, is that it's more than just one idiot sitting in front of the microphone. It's all the other idiots sitting around the world at their keyboards, and they can give you their thoughts too. Just one big happy idiot family. So go on in there, guys, and give It's Gunnit your thoughts on that. All right. Blake writes, of the following, how would pop culture today be the most different if they had never existed? George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, John Williams. Thanks. George Lucas. Look, I've said for a long, Steven Spielberg, I believe, is the greatest filmmaker of all time. I just believe he is. And you can have a different opinion. That's totally cool. We're not enemies. I think Steven Spielberg is the greatest filmmaker of all time. That said, George Lucas's, because Star Wars's impact on pop culture has completely changed and defined pop culture several times over different generations. And since George Lucas is, the father, the creator, if you will, of Star Wars, I believe that makes him the pretty easy answer. So for me, I'm going to say George Lucas on that one. All right. Good question, Blake. All right. Next one. 50 Shades of Geek writes, John, are you cold? Go sit in the corner. It's 90 degrees. I'm sorry. My mom thought it was funny. I don't know is that a Jojo Rabbit quote? I can't remember. It sounds like maybe it was a Jojo Rabbit quote, but I don't know off the top of my head. Sorry, 50 Shades, over my head. All right. 50 Shades also writes, so many people are putting their top 10s of 2019, but I've always had a problem with ranking things. I have no way of measuring how I like one thing over the other. That's why I have so much respect for people who do top 10 lists. That said, my favorite of the year is Shazam. Second favorite is Aladdin. After that, it's Yesterday, Avengers Endgame, Lion King, Jojo Rabbit, and Joker in no particular order. Listen, I can talk all day about how impressed I was with Shazam. I loved that movie. I found that, now I liked it more than most other people, but that movie charmed me so completely and made me just fall in love with it. And I dug it so much, and I just cannot wait for the next one. I thought they did such a tremendous job with Shazam. Like I said, I understand I like it more than most of you guys do, and that's cool and that's fair. But seriously, I honestly love that film very, very much. All right, 50 Shades also writes, worst movie I've seen this year is Hellboy, which is a movie I super enjoyed, much as I hated Cats. Say, worst movie I've seen all year is Hellboy, which is a movie I enjoyed. How do you super enjoy it and call it the worst movie? Anyway, much as I hated Cats, at least that movie knew what it was doing from start to finish. Hellboy was all over the place. Most pointless movie I've watched this year is Dark Phoenix. Here's the interesting thing. You guys know I had very low expectations of Dark Phoenix. I had very, very low expectations of Dark Phoenix. You guys know this. I was preaching doom and gloom about it. I'll tell you what, though, and I know a lot of people were surprised when I said this. I didn't think that movie was a dumpster fire. I'm not saying it's a good movie. Let's be very clear about that. I am not saying that Dark Phoenix was a good movie. By no stretch of the imagination am I saying that. But there are things about Dark Phoenix that worked really well, including the third act. That whole train sequence, I think, was absolutely spectacular. That whole train action sequence in the third act of the film, I thought was spectacular. I really do. Now, it didn't make up for all the bad stuff in the film, but again, I thought there was enough good stuff in the movie that I would not call it a good movie. It's a poor movie. But I didn't think it turned out to be the dumpster fire that I thought it was going to be. It was just kind of interesting that way. Anyway, all right. Joel Wagner writes, hey, John and crew, huge fan of the show and love all you guys. Thank you so much, Joel. What happened to the Light Side, a Dark Side show, and would you consider bringing the band back together for movie trivia again? Thanks, and keep up the great work. All right, so we have addressed this. Oh, and it's a $50 question, so I will address this in its own standalone video, but let me just quickly address it right now. And thank you for supporting the channel on that level, Joel. We really appreciate it around here. I did kind of explain this on the show a couple of times already this week, but you probably missed it. That's cool. It's a mixture. Dark Side, Light Side has been put on indefinite hiatus, not canceled, but indefinite hiatus. The fact of the matter is something has just come up with Christian, which I'm sure he'll make public here pretty soon, which is going to make him even busier. I've just had something come up, which I talked about. I'm going to be actually producing a documentary this year. It'll probably be crap, but whatever. It's going to be mine. I'm producing a documentary this year. That's going to take up a lot more of my time, on top of the fact that there is now no more Star Wars left. Like, we don't even know when another Star Wars movie is going to be. We have no idea when we're getting another Star Wars movie. And on top of that, Christian talked about on his show that he's kind of lost his love for talking about Star Wars as a result of some things over the last little while. So all that put together means that Light Side, Dark Side is, even though we feel really stupid that we just started it, we only got like 5 or 6 episodes in, but the circumstances just came together that made it kind of impractical for us to do it. So that's where it's at right now. But anyhow, I'll go into a little bit deeper, Joel, when we answer your question in its own standalone video. Thank you very much for sending that in, man. And thanks for supporting the channel on that level, my friend. All right. 50 Shades writes, now that you probably said no movie needs to happen, when I said pointless, what I meant was now that it did happen, I felt nothing for it. It's not bad and it's not good. It's just there. That's not what you want from a movie, is it? Well, I mean, it could be worse. You could hate yourself for watching it. Like I felt watching, I don't know, Light Between Oceans or Assassin's Creed, or I mean, you could hate yourself a little bit for it. So it could be much worse. It could be much worse. And again, I walked away from Dark Phoenix feeling like there was some stuff I'm glad I saw. Particularly, again, I put that train sequence in the third act of that movie in the top 10 action sequences of any comic book movie ever. Didn't make the movie a good movie, but God, I love that one thing. So at least I was able to walk away with that. All right. Jordan R. writes, longtime fan from Australia. Dude, the stuff you guys are going through right now, it's just my heart goes out to all of you guys there. You're the reason I graduated with a film degree last month. I write to you and this community hoping to spread awareness for the devastating fires happening here. Awareness is vital during these disasters. Guys, and if you don't know what Jordan's talking about, I mean, it's great that we can sit around here and talk about first world problems. It's great that we can sit around here and I can spend 25 minutes bitching and moaning about something somebody said on Twitter, and I can be a crybaby about all that kind of stuff. That's all great for what we're doing here, but there are real big issues going on in the world. And if you don't know about what's going on in Australia right now with the fires, go and look it up and educate yourselves a little bit and see what there it is you can do to help that, because like Jordan said, it's some pretty rough stuff going on over there right now, Jordan. So stay safe, my friend. Keep us updated and all that kind of stuff. And absolutely, I will do my part to try to make sure people are aware of exactly what's going on over there, because it's scary, scary stuff, my friend. So stay safe. All right. 50 Shades writes, the end of Collider Live hurts me on a personal level. When Christian featured my videos on the show, it helped me get out of a terrible time in my life. I was on the edge of suicide and then gave me a new reason to live. People don't see Collider like I do. Well, I mean, I think you're speaking to something here, 50 Shades, that just kind of echoes what I said before. Shows like Movie Talk, shows like Heroes, shows like Jedi Council, shows like Collider Live. These were shows that didn't just get views before they were made to be run into the ground. They were shows that built community. They were important to people. People didn't just like watching them. They felt like they were part of something and part of a community. I constantly get messages and tweets and emails from people saying how the show has helped them through dark times. It's not just because some idiot's sitting here talking into a microphone, blah, 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 blah. It's because of the community. And building community matters, I believe. Not everybody believes that, and that's okay. But I believe building community matters, and I think what you're just saying there, 50 Shades, is a big, big example of that. All right. Mr. TJ Lynn writes, just discovered you are unable to return home because of delayed flights. Oh, yeah, that was over Christmas. I'm so sorry to hear about that, but you keep going with the show. That is an admirable characteristic. I need to remember this next time my flight is delayed. Yeah, so for those of you who know what Mr. TJ Lynn is talking about, Ann and I were supposed to fly home on December 26th. We were supposed to go back to Canada. We weren't going to be there for Christmas Day. We spent Christmas Day with her family. But then we were going to fly immediately home to Canada. And because of delays and things like that, we weren't going to be able to hit our connecting flights and get us into Hamilton. So I didn't get to see my family over the Christmas break, which really sucks. So thank you for sharing that, TJ. I appreciate your empathy, man. I really do. All right. Drew Larson writes, John, did you hear there's a Babu Freak song on YouTube? Look, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I mean, there was like 20 different Baby Yoda songs. I have no doubt, and I am not surprised at all that there is a Babu Freak song. So I will probably have to go and look that up some, because I love Babu Freak. All right. Thomas writes, hey, John, big fan of the show. I watched the movie Inception the other day, and it's still one of my favorite movies from 2010. What did you think of the movie when you first watched it? Thanks, and keep up the awesome work. Okay. So with Inception, for me, I love the movie. I love it. It is not my number one favorite Christopher Nolan film, but I love that movie. I, however, have this real unfortunate thing where I cannot think about Inception without thinking about the very end with the spinning top. I hate that ending. I hate that ending. To me, it's a BS kind of, I don't know, audience, you decide for yourself whether it was this or that. You decide. I hate that. To me, it's a cheap cop-out. And I believe beneath the genius I believe that is beneath the genius of Christopher Nolan. So I love that movie. But I can't think about that movie without thinking about how much I hated that stupid little ending with the spinning top. It bothered me. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the ending, for those of you who watched Watchmen, the TV series, the HBO series. For those of you who watched Watchmen, that ending with the spinning top is exactly like that ending of Watchmen as she's about to step out onto the pool. Exact same thing. I hate those types of endings. They really stick in my craw, I hate that. But overall, I totally love the movie, Thomas. And you're right, it is one of the best films of 2010. All right, ZMG Ruler writes, Uncut Gems was great, but also uncomfortable for me. You know what? I just had another friend of mine write to me, because I'm hearing a lot of great things, but I've started to have a few friends talk to me about how they really didn't like the movie. And so, including on Facebook and whatever, talking about it. So it's like, I still haven't watched it myself. That is one of 2 or 3 remaining films I need to see before I really complete my top 10 list. But I'm hearing stuff like that, ZOMG Ruler. All right, Chris Warden writes, just to follow up from my comment the other day about how the box office declined in the OG Star Wars trilogy and Lucas being desperate to sell it. It was just a bad attempt at sarcasm. Oh, I see. Because I remember that. I'm like, Chris, what are you talking about? He made billions. Anyway, it was a cheap attempt at sarcasm on my part and a way of pointing out how silly some of these hate channels are for making the argument that the current box office for Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker is a failure. I am curious right now, because I think it's more and more assured. So Rise of Skywalker box office. I think it's becoming more and more certain that Rise of Skywalker is going to cross the $1 billion mark. Let's see. Where is Box Office Mojo for it? Okay, as of right now, before we've gotten its third weekend numbers, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is sitting at $851 million. So it's going to cross the $1 billion mark for sure. But yeah, I'm glad you followed that up, Chris, because I was like, what, Chris, what are you talking about? Because you remember like both Rob and I were kind of befuddled by your comments. So thank you for clarifying that, man. I appreciate that. All right. Steve Joseph writes, did you like the first act of Venom? I thought the first act of Venom was a little weak, to be honest with you. I mean, I appreciate it more once I saw acts 2 and 3, but I felt like I understand you need a little bit of setup time, but I felt like they used too much time before we finally got to Eddie and Venom. Or I should say Eddie and the symbiote, because combined they are Venom. But I thought they took a little bit too much time to get there. And I thought there were some clear 10 to 15 minutes that could have been cut out of the film that maybe would have got us there just a little bit quicker without sacrificing the setup that you needed to set up. So while I really enjoy Venom, you guys know I like Venom very much, I got to say the first act had some question marks to it. I'll say that. All right. Steve Joseph also writes, does the good outweigh the bad for you in The Rise of Skywalker? No. The bad outweighs the good. I think there is good in it. There are a number of things. I've talked very publicly about the things that I like about The Rise of Skywalker, but overall, unfortunately, the movie didn't work for me. But it worked for other people, and that's cool. I love that people love movies, even if they're movies that I don't like. But unfortunately, no, for me, The Rise of Skywalker didn't work. So no, the good did not outweigh the bad for me. All right. Julius Goodwin sends in a $50 chat. So Julius, if there is a question in here, we will make yours its own standalone video. Keep your eyes open for that. All right. And thank you for supporting the channel on this level, Julius. We really appreciate it. Julius writes, as it is a new year, with success and failures of the past year behind you, what do you see as the highlights, things to do better, or experiences and lessons that you wish to impart to your friends, family, viewership, and supporters? All right. Well, this is obviously a big one that I will need to address in its own standalone video. Look, we crossed 200,000 subscribers. We've crossed 100 million views. Every month, our viewership goes up and up. We just crossed like 5.6 million views in the past 30 days, which is a new record high for the John Campea YouTube channel. We've never had a 30-day window. We've gone over 5.6 million views. So for freaking loser Canadian nobody sitting in his spare bedroom, that's not too bad. So I'm happy about that. I think one of the biggest lessons is I cannot do as much as I think I can do. And I'll get into that in more details when we answer your question in its own standalone video. But that's a big lesson for me, and one that I'd want to impart to some other people as well. But I'll get around to that in greater detail later, Julius. Thank you so much for saying that, man. It's a great question. I look forward to answering it. And thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level, my friend. All right. Kara Black writes, you're on a deserted island for a week and just for a week. Okay. And can only take 2 films with you. Lucas era Star Wars films one Lucas era Star Wars film and 1 Disney era Star Wars film. What are your 2 choices? That's fairly easy. I take Return of the Jedi and I take the Force Awakens. It's just that easy. The Force Awakens is my favorite of the new era films. Rogue One is close. Rogue One is close. I love Rogue One. But Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. I've gone into great lengths about why that is. And The Force Awakens is just a movie I like more and more every single time I see it. So, yep, the 2 I take. Return of the Jedi from the George Lucas era. From the new Disney era, I take The Force Awakens. So, I love that question. Thank you for asking that, Kara. I love that question. All right. Josh Bing writes, as someone studying to get a film degree, graduating college this year, and then getting a master's, I have to say watching the show every day really makes me smile. The fact that you're still here talking movies and TV with us is a real treat to enjoy. Oh, thank you so much, Josh. And again, it's community, right? It's community. You come back every day because of community. That's why you come back every day, because of community. That's why people came back every day to Collider Movie Talk, because of community, you know? It's a key thing, man. So first of all, that is awesome that you're getting a film degree. That is awesome that you're graduating college. It's awesome that you're going for a master's degree and She just finished her 2nd master's degree. Anne's got 4 degrees now. She's got 2 bachelor's degrees and 2 master's degrees. She just finished her 2nd master's degree. I won't even begin to tell you how much money that cost me. But she's finished her 2nd master's degree. And so that is fantastic. And thank you for joining us every day, Josh. And thank you for being part of our community and making it the great place that it is. So thank you for that, Josh. We appreciate you, man. All right. John McKinney writes, do you think it will be a good idea to make a Catcher in the Rye movie? Oh, John, I already answered this question on... So listen, guys, just to be clear, if you ever send in a question during one of the live shows and it doesn't get answered, it's going to get answered in a companion video. So I know you already sent in this question and I answered it in the companion video that went up last night. So you can see, just go to the companion video playlist and the newest one that went up there last night. I answered this question already, but you sent it in again, so I'll answer it again. Do you think it will be a good idea to make a Catcher in the Rye movie? It's my favorite book of all time. Poor Holden, I felt so bad for him, and he's so misunderstood. And so what I said was, well, yesterday you worded it a little bit differently. You asked me, do I think there will ever be a Catcher in the Rye movie? And what I said at the time, and it still applies here now, is that whenever you ask a question, obviously, that has the word could or ever in it, the answer is always yes. Could there ever be a Catcher in the Rye movie? Well, of course there could be. The question becomes, will it be within the next 3 years, 5 years, 15 years, 50 years? In an ever-evolving and growing media landscape where so many channels are desperately seeking content, a recognizable IP as Catcher in the Rye, even with all the baggage that's attached to it, is going to become, I believe, more and more attractive over time. That said, yeah, I believe we will get a Catcher in the Rye, and it can be good. But do I think we're going to get in the next 3 years? I don't think so. But eventually, yeah, I really do. I do think we're going to get that. And if you want to hear me say a few other things about it, check out that companion video that I put up yesterday, because I probably said a few other things in there as long as way. But yeah, I do think we could get one, and it could be a good idea if handled right. But you got to be, because of obviously with all the baggage associated with it, you've got to handle it properly. And if they do, it could work out well. All right. CO2 writes, Happy New Year. What is your favorite type of music? Ooh, it's hard to say because like my favorite band of all time is U2. I actually played in a U2 tribute band for, for a little while. But I wouldn't say that that is necessarily my favorite type of music. Like I also grew up like listening to Grandmaster Melly Mel and listening to Kool Moe Dee and listening to, Houdini and Run DMC and things like that. And then, getting into Public Enemy. And like, I used to listen to a lot of that stuff too when I was younger. Whenever I hear the words Kool Moe Dee, Wild Wild West, that's all I hear in my head. The Wild Wild West. Anyway. Kudos to you if you know the song. But yeah, it's difficult. Then I will pop in some classical. I'll listen to some Two Cellos. I'll listen to some Rob Zombie. I'll listen to, like, it's weird. I don't know that I definitively have a favorite type of music. I'm not sure that I do. Like, because you'd hear my favorite band is U2, so you'd figure, oh, it's that contemporary rock kind of music. And I do love a lot of that, but it's not necessarily my favorite. So I don't know that I can definitively say CO2 that I have a favorite. It's a good question. Maybe I should try to see if I can figure out what my favorite is at some point. All right. Marie Seifring writes, hey, John, last night I heard you were debating whether or not to have a Witcher open spoiler discussion. Have you made a decision? Thanks. Okay, so here's the thing. I think I would like to do a Witcher open spoiler discussion. I just don't know when I would do it. That's the thing. I just don't know when I would do it. Look, because the reality is right now, I have been working 7 days a week. Lately, the last couple of months, I've been working 6 days a week. I've been taking Sundays off. But even Sundays, I don't really take off because once 4 or 5 o'clock comes around on Sunday afternoon, I've got to sit down for a couple of hours and write the show notes for Monday's show. So really, I am working 7 days a week, and I'm really not getting any time off. So I think I would like to do a Witcher open spoiler discussion. Clearly, there's a lot to talk about, but I just don't know when I would do it. So I guess the answer to your question, Maria, is I have not 100% decided yet. Hopefully I'll decide within the next 24 hours. I'll try to decide within the next 24 hours. And then once I do, I will let you guys know. It's just kind of struggling to figure out when to do it. Like, when would I have time to actually do it? I'm not really sure about that yet. So I will figure it out though, Maria. I will figure it out. Thank you for asking. All right. Richard Karate writes, will we see Ian McKellen as Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings TV show? Ooh, that's a good question. That is a good question. How old is Ian McKellen now? How's that? Hey, Google, how old is Ian McKellen? My assistant back.
80 years old.
So Ian is now 80, but he looks and sounds great, especially if you saw him in that new The Liar, the one he's in with Helen Mirren. He looks great. I mean, he looks great. So you know what? It's perfectly, just a guess here, Richard, just a guess. I'm going to guess yes. I'm going to guess that yes, we will see Ian McKellen as Gandalf. I don't know that, and I wouldn't put money on it, just to be clear. I wouldn't put money on that. But my guess, I'm going to guess yes, and I think we're all going to freak out with joy if he does. And the day they announce that, oh my God, everybody's going to freak out and just love it. But then, I don't know, maybe their story doesn't even have Gandalf the Grey in it. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Marie Seifring writes, sends in a really large tip. Thank you, Marie, for supporting the channel on that level. And she writes, are you less worried about COPA than you were a couple of months ago? Thanks, and I will follow your show wherever you decide to host it. And I enjoy it that much. Well, thank you so much, Marie. I appreciate that. So for those who don't know, like the whole COPA thing, the Child Online Protection Act, the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, which is in and of itself is a very good law to protect the privacy of children. I agree with the law. I do. But how YouTube is going to work with that law becomes a question mark. And for those of you who didn't follow any of it, it just looked for a while like anybody who did anything that was even remotely could be kid friendly, you could be targeted with a fine for $40,000. I believe that was it. And it would be a fine for $40,000 for every violation you had. It was really weird. Look, I'm not going to go into it all right now. You can go and look up the COPA thing if you're not familiar with it. I was so freaked out about it. I'm not going to lie. I was freaked out about it because I thought, oh my God, all it's going to take is some random like YouTube employee to go, oh, you did a review of Frozen 2. That's kids content. No, just because it's an animated movie my review is not kids content. Nope, that's kids content. Therefore, $40,000 fine. And I can't afford that. And I actually considered pulling my show off of YouTube and just making my show like like a Disney Plus, like just making my show for Patreon supporters only. Because I thought, if I just make my show Patreon supporter only, and I don't know, we do like 20 or 30 shows a month. So $10 a month, $9.99 a month, right? For Patreon. There's already a bunch of Patreon supporters who do pay that much anyway. Thank you, all of you, for your great support. And then just do the show every day for my Patreon supporters. That way we could probably, if we even just got like 2,500 people sign up. And remember, we'll any given show, we can have 30, 40,000 people watch an episode. If we could just get like 2,500 people to sign up, I could pay everybody. I could pay all the bills. I could pay my salary. We could pay for everything that we do. We'd be able to pay for it all and put money away into the bank at the same time for just 2,500 people to sign up. So I really thought about that. But then I talked to some lawyers, one lawyer in particular, and I started to feel a lot safer about the COPA thing. I started feeling a lot better about the COPA thing. So I'm feeling better about it. I think the way we're going to go is just keep it on YouTube. So I think the way we're just going to do is just keep it on YouTube for now. So that's the idea for now. If something comes up though and other red flags go out, I might have to reevaluate my position on that because I can't be sued into bankruptcy. But for now, I think we're feeling pretty safe where we are. Thank you for asking, Marie. All right. Dick Carabast writes, how comparable box office wise is the Star Wars situation compared to the DCEU? It's not comparable. Every single, like the Star Wars franchise right now is averaging over $1 billion a film. When you take all 5 movies that have come out under the Disney era, they average over $1 billion a film. The DCEU has not that. Although they just had their first 2, DCEU, Joker's not a DCEU movie, so I don't know how you want to define that. But like, okay, so if we say DCEU proper, then DCEU has $1 billion film, whereas the Star Wars films average over $1 billion, so they're not really comparable at all at this point. Brian Stanford writes, "Hey John, if Kathleen Kennedy called you and said you are the only person who could pick the next Star Wars trilogy, what is your pitch? Something from Legends, got a new idea? Hit us with what a Campea Star Wars trilogy would look like. Thanks for everything." Well, clearly, Brian, that's something I would have to sit down for 2 months and try to chart out. I will tell you setting, though. I would take the next Star Wars trilogy setting to the Old Republic. The reason I would take it to the Old Republic is because it's so far separated in time that it's completely disconnected from everything that's going on in Star Wars right now. It allows us to tell new stories in new environments with new heroes and new villains. I just love that idea. In a great and familiar and celebrated context, the Old Republic, I just think there's a lot of things you could do there. I wouldn't necessarily draw much on expanded universe stuff. Maybe a few things here and there. You guys probably already know what I'm thinking of. But I would definitely go, my first response would be a trilogy that takes place in the Old Republic. Give me a month to come up with an outline. That's what I would say, but definitely would be in the Old Republic for me. All right. Thanks for the question, man. Jin Darren writes, Rise of Skywalker is still trailing behind The Last Jedi. How bad is it? It's not. Listen, I don't like this movie. But it's already at $851 million. After this weekend, it's going to be well north of $900 million. It's easily going to cross the $1 billion mark. So we're going to have yet another, all 3 of the Star Wars trilogy films are all going to be $1 billion+ films. So there's nothing bad about it. I mean, I don't like the movie. So there's that. That's bad. But as far as how it's doing financially, it's a great success. It's a huge success. Okay. John McKinney writes, if Norman Osborn / Green Goblin is introduced in the MCU, who should play him? My choice would be Jason Isaacs. Well, everybody knows what I'm about to say. I don't care. I just so you know, John, I don't do which X actor should play X role. I don't do that because there's no way to know. See, you say Jason Isaacs, right? What if the way they write Norman Osborn, Green Goblin is nothing like what Jason Isaacs would fit? Right? See, everybody comes up with their fantasy role, their fantasy casting based on how they would write the character in their own head. but depending on how the character is written, could drastically change who you would see as a good fit. And since we don't know how the character is written, the only thing I ever say is, as long as you get a good actor. That's all I care about. I think Jason Isaacs is a very good actor. So if they were to announce tomorrow that Jason Isaac was going to be Norman Osborn, then I would be totally fine with it because he's a good actor. That's all you need. Make sure it's a good actor, and then I'll just trust that the filmmakers are putting somebody who's matched with it well. Other than that, nothing. So yeah, I don't do which actor should play X role. I don't do those. But as long as he's a good actor, Jason Isaacs is a good actor. So him and about 50 other people you could name, I would be totally down with to play that role. All right, let's move on here. Matt Thornton writes, rumors are floating around that Star Wars Rebels will be getting a sequel series starring Ahsoka and Sabine. Just rumors, but one that I hope is true. I don't put a lot of stock in rumors. 95% of the time they're BS, 5% of the time that they're true, but I'm not going to get invested on something that turns out right 5% of the time. If it turns out to be right, then I'll celebrate it at that time. I'm down for a Star Wars Rebels sequel. I have no interest in the Ahsoka Tano character, though. You guys know this. I don't like the character. So whatever. But there are a lot of people who like Rebels. I liked Rebels, so it would be interesting to see. I mean, if you're going to come back with Clone Wars, why not come back with more Rebels? We'll see how it all works out. All right. John's current headphones, right? They're still sitting busted over there. Writes, just know if you strike me down, I should become more powerful than you can possibly imagine from my headphones. So this is their Padawan right here. You know what? Kid you not. Told the story obviously on the show the other day about how I destroyed my headphones, and I have really just cheap. I don't spend money on headphones. I don't spend money on things that are just for me. Like I'll put money into the cameras because the cameras go to my viewers' experience. I'll put money into the microphones because the microphones go towards the viewer's experience. I'll put money into the software because the software directly translates into my viewer's experience, all that kind of stuff. But my headphones, $7. Seriously, I spend about $7 on those headphones. I'm sitting in a almost 10-year-old chair here that has no cushioning left. This is from the AMC closet days, this chair, but it's just me. It doesn't go to my viewer's experience, so I'm too cheap to spend money. But anyway, so I talked about how I have terrible headphones. A rep from a major headphone company or a company that does high-end headphones. I'm not going to name them right now. I'll name them once I receive them. But got a hold of me and said, hey, I watch your show all the time, and I noticed you were saying this one exec from this company. How about we set you up? Let us fix you up with some headphones. And I'm like, yes, please. So I don't know. That'll be cool. For all I know, maybe it was a troll. Maybe it was a troll and it wasn't real. But I'm going to hope that it was real and that I'm going to have some shiny new headphones show up and you guys will, and it'll actually sound good and be comfortable. Imagine that. So hang tight, John's current headphones. Maybe some good stuff will come out of this. All right. Babyboy8603 writes, hey, John, have you seen Bombshell? If so, what are your thoughts? Thanks for everything that you do. No, but I have a screener for it downstairs. I have a screener for Bombshell downstairs. I've been getting through I'm almost all the way through all the screeners list, but that one is still down near the bottom of the pile. I'm not hearing the best things about it. I heard the performances in it are great, but I haven't heard the best things about it overall. So, I don't know. We'll see, but I will get around to it very shortly here, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it once I do. But thanks for asking, Baby Boom, or Baby Boy. All right, 50 Shades of Geek writes, John. Oh, sends in a $50 one. So if there's a significant question in here, I will ask it in its own standalone video. 50 Shades of Geek writes, John, I have a request. I would be honored if you would watch my 2010 to 2019 recap video and maybe record yourself watching. No. Just so you know, no. Watching it, I know you hate reaction videos, and I know it's weak. It's weak of me to ask this, but I really think I have a winner with this one. Thanks. Listen, I may get around to watching it. I might. But, and I don't mean to sound grave, but you have no idea how many requests I have people sending to me. John, can you read? I wrote a script. Can you read my script? I don't know why people want me to read their script because I'm not a film studio executive. So I have no idea. People keep asking me if they can send me their scripts, if I can watch their films, if I can watch their this, can I listen to their podcasts? Can I do? And I get it. And I'm honored. I'm so freaking honored. But the reality is, 50 Shades, I don't have time to do that. And here's the thing: this is the old stupid slippery slope argument. But honestly, 50 Shades, if I did that for yours, then it would be completely unfair of me to turn down other people for that sort of stuff. And I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time for that. So while I am super honored that you would ask me for that, and I really am, and I extend to you my deepest thanks to you, that would mean something to you. I'm super grateful for that, but it's just not something I can do, because then the moment, if I say yes, then all of a sudden I'm going to get like 100 angry emails from people saying, how come you're shitting on my thing? How come you said no to mine? You know what I mean? And I can't do that. And everybody, I know everybody's going to disagree with me, and that's cool. I get it, but I just can't do that. But I am deeply honored that you would ask, though, dude. I am deeply honored that you would ask. And who knows? Like, maybe I will actually get around to watching it. Email me a link to it. Just email me, john@thejohncampeashow.com. Email me a link. I can't guarantee I'll get around to watching it, but maybe I will. But to watch it and actually sit down and record myself no, that's something I can't do. I can't do that. But I appreciate that you would ask, man. I really do. I really do appreciate that you would ask. All right. Richard Lyons writes, I know you're not huge on Harry Potter, but I like Harry Potter. I'm not a Potterhead or anything, but I appreciate Harry Potter. I know you're not huge on Harry Potter, but as a big fan, I can't help but feel the property is underutilized. Only branching out they've done is Fantastic Beasts and the theme parks. Surprised no show or game has been developed. I think it's a bit underrated as a potential heavy hitter. Well, there have been many games. I mean, hell, there's my wife has got a couple of Harry Potter Lego video games, and she tried that whole... Remember Harry Potter put out that Pokemon Go? Kind of the same company that made Pokemon Go also made a Harry Potter version of it. So they've made games. We've got the movies. She's put out a couple of extra books, stuff like that. I guess look, everything is built around J.K. Everybody yells at me when I pronounce her name. I don't care. J.K. Rowling. Everybody, you got to understand, everything revolves around her, and she's got to write and bless everything that gets done. And she keeps pretty tight control over that property. Understandably so. It's a huge, rich property. So she wants to make sure it doesn't get played out. But I still believe that at some point in the next 5 years, we are going to get another Harry Potter movie with the original cast. Now, years later, not that book that they did, because I don't think that was received very well, but an actual sequel movie to the original 9 films, and I think that's going to happen in the next 5 years. I don't know that. There's no inside information, but that's what I think will happen. All right. Let's see. 50 Shades and follows up with, I promise I'll never pay you to watch any of my videos again. I just really think you'll like this one. Your opinion is really important to me, and I would love to know what you think. Don't worry, it's only 5 minutes long. If you want, I can email it to you. Again, I make no guarantees, and I certainly can't record myself watching it. But if you email me a link, there is a possibility I'll get around to watching to it. I promise. I will promise I will at least try. I promise that I will at least try 50 Shades. All right. Abdullah Al-Gadam writes, favorite movie of the year from each year of the decade. 2010, Toy Story 3, marvelous movie. Now, 2011, Moneyball, marvelous movie. Even though I never watched baseball, neither do I. 2012, Argo, marvelous. 2013, Wolf of Wall Street, marvelous. 2014, Whiplash, marvelous. 2015, The Martian, marvelous. Oh gosh, was that all the way back in 2015? Man, 2016, Nice Guys. Oh, I love that movie. 2017, Logan. I completely agree. 2018, Vice. 2019, The Irishman. Yeah, The Irishman is one. First of all, I love that list, Abdul. Like doing a best film by year. I love that. That was very creative. I like that you did that. Irishman's probably not going to be in my top 10. It might sneak in the top 10, but I really do like the movie very much. Again, I just think it's about 40 minutes too long. I think you could have cut 40 minutes out of that movie and would have been just as effective, if not more effective. But that's just me. So I like the movie very, very much. It may sneak into my top 10. I'm not really sure. But I love that idea of a favorite film per year. And I love that you got movies like Whiplash. I certainly love that you've got Nice Guys in there, because that was an underappreciated movie horribly, Abdullah. So good list, my friend. All right. Ryan Lohner writes... After all you've said about Slugfest, it was quite amusing to see Reed Tucker say in the introduction, I think it's safe to say Marvel's movies right now are objectively better than DC's. I remember when I was reading that book, and because that's right near the beginning, And when he said that, I'm like, oh, because I remember where I was when I read that line. Because I had to stop and go, wait a minute, what did he just say? Clearly, I need to sit down with Reed Tucker and have a conversation about the subjectivity of film. And no, the Marvel films are not objectively better than the DC films. They are, I believe they're better than DC films, but they are not objectively better. But you're right. I came across that line right near the beginning of the book, Ryan. I was like, oh, what did he just say? But good on you for reading Slugfest. Guys, if you've not read Slugfest, I think it's called The 50-Year Battle Between Marvel and DC. It is revelatory. It really is. You should absolutely check it out. It's fantastic. 50 Shades also writes, John, can I offer you a nice egg in this trying time? If I'm not mistaken, that's from JoJo, I think. I think that's from JoJo, not 100% sure. 50 Shades then writes, tip a coin to your Campea and Robert and Aaron. Tip a coin to your Campea, Ray, John, and Chris. Johnny equals Jonathan. Of course, that's a play on the lyrics of The Witcher. Just so you know, too, Ray is R-A-Y. I know you probably got Star Wars Ray in the brain, R-E-Y, but Ray is R-A-Y. Just so you're aware of that. Just so you're aware. I love that. That song gets stuck in my head from The Witcher. It really does. Luke1234 writes, if the Star Wars universe was real, what do you'd be? Let me try this again. If the Star Wars universe was real, you'd be? Who'd you be? Jedi, Gray Jedi, Sith, Smuggler, Spice Runner, Bounty Hunter, or anything else. I mean, obviously, if I could choose to be something, I'd be a Jedi. But I would probably be a maintenance droid. I mean, that's not what I'd want to be, but that's probably what I'd end up being. If I could choose anything, I'd be a Jedi, but I would probably end up being a service droid. That's what I would probably end up being. Luke 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Fatboy95 Mario writes, update to the Magic the Gathering show that the Russos are working on. How often and invested are you in the card game? Have you ever played in a tournament? Well, I've played in some tournaments. I honestly, Ann and I haven't played in a while. It's funny you ask. Hold on a second. I just have. It just so happens that it's funny because me and a friend were talking about this the other day. I happen to have my case here with my decks. I have my main decks up there, my extra cards, my dice, all that kind of stuff. Pull out my main deck, this should be my all white deck. Yeah, I'll just pull out a few. So, yeah, this is my all white deck. That of course I keep in the sleeves. But you know what's funny though? While it is funny that I just happen to have this right here because we were just talking about it recently, I pulled this stuff out. Ann and I haven't actually played. Let me put all this away here. Ann and I haven't actually played for about a year. We haven't played for about a year. And we were talking the other day that we really should sit down and start playing again. We really should sit down and start playing again. So it's been a while since I played. So I played in one or two like very small local game shop tournaments, just really, really small stuff. But I haven't like played like really hardcore, and I never really got into real competitive playing. I just like playing with friends and stuff like that because a friend turned me onto it, and then Ann got into it. And now Ann works with the people who make Magic the Gathering, which is totally cool. So there's that. All right. Let's see here. JMeister25 writes, I think what makes Infinity War and Endgame work over, say, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker is that I feel like more of a participant rather than an observer. Could just be me. How do you feel? I mean, I just feel... No, I know. I do feel like a total observer in both. I feel like a total observer in both. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I think what makes Infinity War and Endgame work over, say, Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker are just two things. One, I think they're just overall better put together films. Now, look, I like The Last Jedi. I do. But I've got a lot of issues with it. And I have some issues with Infinity War, and I certainly have some issues with Endgame as well. But I think just overall Infinity War and Endgame are just two better films than, say, the two films of The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. The other thing that makes them stand out, I believe, more is that they are clearly a part of an overall story. And as much as I love The Force Awakens, the new trilogy was not thought out. They did the best that they could with each individual movie and just made the best individual movie that they could each time, and that's great. But when you're making a trilogy, you got to think the story through, and they clearly didn't. And I still like The Last Jedi, but I had my issues, and I did not like The Rise of Skywalker. So I think more than anything else, I think Infinity War and Endgame work a little bit better over, say, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker because they were thought-out stories. They were part of an overall plan, and then they were executed as a part of the plan, whereas the Star Wars, the final 2 chapters in the Star Wars new trilogy were really more reactionary than anything else. And while I still have a level of appreciation for them, I think that's what puts Infinity War and Endgame over them. All right, next up, Marley V writes, Scarlett Johansson versus Florence Pugh. Who had the stronger 2019? Because both will collab for Black Widow. I really think these were the top 2 actresses of the year. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure I would agree, but I will say this. The stronger year clearly went to Scarlett Johansson because, as we talked about on the show yesterday, there is a possibility right now. I'm not sure how high, and I'm not sure where I'd put the over-under line, but there is a possibility right now that Scarlett Johansson could very well end up winning Best Actress at the Academy Awards and Best Supporting Actress. Because she's going to get nominated for Marriage Story, and she's got a shot at winning for Marriage Story, just so you know. She's going to get nominated, and she's got a shot. I believe there's a decent chance. I don't think it's automatic that she gets nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Jojo Rabbit, but there is a decent chance she gets nominated for Best Supporting Actress as well for Jojo Rabbit. And once you get nominated, anything can happen. So there is, in theory, a possibility right now that Scarlett Johansson could do something that has never been done in Academy Award history. Win Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress in the same year. Never been done. For actor or actress. Never been done. When you're comparing a couple of different performers, and one of them is in a position to make history, I think you got to say that person probably had the better year. All respect to Florence, who had a great year. I think you got to give the nod to the person who could be making history. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. All right, Koa1708 writes, I see that you have a Mac laptop, so you prefer Apple over PC. Also, aren't you an Android guy, not sticking with an ecosystem I see? Well, as a matter of fact, I have very much become platform agnostic. Because, and I kid you not, so my phone is Android. I am totally an Android guy when it comes to my phone. I've had iPhones. I'm done with iPhones, at least until something really major changes. I'm done with iPhones. Androids, to me, just to me, are the superior phone platform. That's just me. However, I also have an Apple tablet. I have an iPad Pro 11-inch. I have an 11-inch iPad Pro. So I have my phone is an Android. My main tablet, because I also have a Samsung tablet, but my main tablet is my iPad 11 Pro 11. I've got an iOS device and I've got an Android device. My the laptop that's on my treadmill, I have a treadmill desk in my bedroom, and the laptop on my treadmill desk is a Chromebook. So not PC, not Apple, not Linux, it's a Chromebook. I've got a Chromebook as my main laptop on my treadmill desk. So there's that. My main laptop is a Chromebook. Then in here in my studio, I have, I'll cut to this camera here. I have this MacBook. I've had this MacBook for a number of years. This is a good, solid workhorse laptop for me. It never comes off this stand. This is where I always use this particular computer. But I do have this Mac. It works great for me. I love this little Mac. It's about 5 years old now, and it's still chugging along, and I really like it. So there's iOS device, Android device, a Chromebook laptop, a MacBook, and my main desktop is a PC. My main desktop used to be this really spec'd out iMac a couple of years ago. I swapped over for some software issues to a PC, And so my main desktop workhorse video editing machine and video production machine is a PC. So I have Android, iOS, Mac, PC, and Chromebook all up here on this floor. I am the definition of platform agnostic. I'm just whatever tool works best. I have no brand loyalty when it comes to my electronics. I really don't have any brand loyalty. I am whatever tool works for the job. As a main, just portable little laptop thing, my Chromebook is perfect. As a powerful tablet, my iPad Pro is great. As my mobile phone device, my Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus is beautiful. Love that phone. For the functions I need in here, my MacBook Air does great. For my main workhorse stuff, my PC does wonderful. I am totally platform agnostic. So thanks for asking, Koa. All right. Nicholas Glenn writes, about to release our first production film documentary, Star Wars, a sequel trilogy documentary, on our channel Echo Base Network. We use a few clips from you to help tell the story and even have you in our trailer. Really? Robert Meyer Burnett gave us a great take for the end as well. I hope you will check it out. Well, that sounds real. Well, it's Star Wars content, so I probably will check it out at some point regardless, especially if I'm in it and if Robert Meyer Burnett's in it. I'll definitely want to give that a checking out. Well done. I'm impressed because I'm about to embark on making a documentary this year. And it's going to take me a while. And looking towards the finish line seems insurmountable. And I've made a documentary before, Prince of Priest, God of War. And I know there were so many times I never knew if I would even finish that damn thing. The fact that you guys did a project and you carried it through to completion is so admirable. So admirable. So full kudos to you guys on that. And I'll be excited to see a trailer with me in it at some point. So well done, guys. Absolutely well done, my friends. All right. Midnight Madman writes, better dancing, Joaquin Phoenix or Toby Maguire? You know what? I'm going to give the edge to Tobey Maguire, actually. Joker, clearly the better movie, but I'm going to give the dancing edge to Tobey Maguire, Midnight Madman. That's probably the most interesting question I'm going to get today. All right, Luke1234 writes, every time you rant, John, I must quote the Emperor, use your aggressive feelings, boy, let the hate flow through you. Like I said, I had a little bit of a meltdown. I might even regret it. I don't know. But I was hot. Oh, dude, I was so hot. About that whole ridiculous thing. Anyway, Phil Corvelli writes, love your content, bro. Thank you so much, Phil. I was wondering if there's any official word on who will be the villain of the Eternals film. Is there a particular villain you'd like to see in the film? Again, much like which actors believe, I never get into who do I think the villain should be, because I don't know what their story is. I don't know what the feel of the movie is going to be. I don't know what type of direction they want the movie to take. And all that will would radically change who or what I would see as the villain for the film, depending on what the nature of the movie is, the type of tone that it had, the direction it was going in. All that would go into any decision-making process I would make about what villain would be right for it. And since I don't know any of the answers to that, I'm not going to say this person should be the villain or that person should be the villain. I just can't do that. As far as, is there any official word? Not that I've heard. Now, I believe they are going to have a main antagonist for sure. But right now, no, I have not heard anything new about who or what could be the villain of the film. And, honestly, the movie is still so far away. I'm sure 3 or 4 months from now, we'll start to get more information and all that kind of stuff. But right now, the movie's still so far away, I'm not really concerned about it. But I do know Rob is really excited about this film. Rob's really excited about Eternals, and I can't help but have his enthusiasm and excitement for it affect me too. So I'm starting to get enthusiastic and excited about it as well. So we'll find out probably more in a few months about that, Phil. All right. Thanks for sending that in, man. I appreciate that. Yusuf Alvi writes, looks like I was right. Once Conor wins by KO in the second round, Dana wants to make a Khabib rematch. Total BS. I know you disagree with me, but this fight exists to give Conor a win. I hate this. Well, yes and no. I mean, because look, Conor McGregor. Look, I hate Conor McGregor, but let's be fair about this. Ex-fighter. Forget the name Conor McGregor. Ex-fighter. Okay? Fighter X. Let's call him that. Fighter X. Forget the name, just Fighter X. Fighter X was a champion, out for a long, long, long time, came back, fought the current champion, and lost. After losing, was gone for a long, long, long time. So he hasn't won a fight in years. When's the last time Conor McGregor won an MMA fight? Was it the, when's the last time he won a fight? I think it's been years. Regardless, it's been years since Conor McGregor won a fight. So now that he's coming back in, he hasn't won a fight in years. The last time he was in the octagon, he lost. So do you give him the champion right away? No. Do you give him the number one contender right away? No. You know who's a real good gatekeeper right now? Donald Cowboy Cerrone. That dude can strike with the best of them. And yeah, Cowboy Cerrone's on a 2-fight losing streak, but he won like a whole ton of fights right before that against some big, big names. And the 2 fights that he lost were both main event fights against the top level fighters in the world. So you have Fighter X coming back, hasn't won a fight in years. I say a fight against a Donald Cowboy Cerrone is a fight that makes sense. I really do. I think that is a fight that makes sense. And honestly, I don't know what we're going to get out of Conor McGregor, because you know what? Conor McGregor is susceptible to somebody with a great ground game. I mean, that's why Khabib dismantled him. And that's why Nate Diaz was able to beat him in their first fight. I mean, Nate Diaz can stand and trade too, but once it goes to the ground, Conor McGregor is out of his element once it gets to the ground. You know who's great on the ground? Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Look, would I pick Conor McGregor to win this fight? Yeah. But I'm not putting much money against it, because if you don't think that Donald Cowboy Cerrone has a shot, you're crazy. If you don't think that Donald Cowboy Cerrone has a shot in this fight, you are nuts. I absolutely, Cowboy Cerrone, he's got a chance in this fight, especially if he can take this thing to the ground, because he just completely outclasses McGregor on the ground. If this thing goes to the ground, McGregor is in trouble. Just like he was in trouble against Nate Diaz when it went to the ground, just like he was in trouble against Khabib when it went to the ground. If Donald Cerrone isn't Khabib, but if he can get that thing to the ground, Cerrone's going to submit him. And Cerrone, on top of all that, is a dynamic striker. So would I pick McGregor? Yes. But you are nuts if you don't think that Cowboy Cerrone has a chance in this fight, because I believe he does have a chance in this fight. So it'll be interesting to watch either way, dude. It'll be interesting to watch either way. All right. Q Reviews writes, thank you so much for your comment on my small YouTube channel. Made my day. Oh, I know what that is. Okay, so I'm like, wait a second, who wrote in about their YouTube channel? Okay, so Q Reviews. So somebody sent me a link. A friend of mine sent me a link. This is yesterday, and said, oh, you should check out this YouTube channel where this dude's talking about this thing. So I said, all right. So I was sitting around last night, just before going to bed, and I went over, and Q Review said some, if I remember correctly, said some really nice things about me, and I was touched by it. So I left a little comment on his channel. So anyway, hopefully I'm thinking of the right channel that I did that with. But so anyway, Q Reviews, oh no, my pleasure. And if it's the right channel that I'm thinking of, thank you for the kind words. I really enjoyed that, and thanks to my friend who pointed me in your direction. So thank you for that, Q Reviews. Anyway. You listen, by the way, if it is the right channel thinking of Q Reviews, you use a great camera, whatever camera that is. All right, Ulysses the Smith III, D. Oos Life writes, no wonder Collider is going downhill. This Jack Hind douchebag is unbearable. Hate how young nobodies who get their little degrees in management or business think they know it all because they're the boss. I'm going to try really hard, Ulysses, not to lose my shit again. But yeah, I mean, it's infuriating, especially when I've got underwear that's older than that kid. The sad thing is that's probably true. I've got underwear older than this kid, who thinks he's of the stature that he can talk to a Ken Knapsack like that, I'm sorry, kid, you're nobody. You are a nobody, an absolute fucking nobody. And I'm a nobody. It takes a nobody to know a nobody. And I'm 50 times bigger than you, and I'm a fucking nobody. I'm not quite sure what that makes you, but you have no place, child. Shut your mouth, know your role, and take a seat. You don't speak to Ken Knapsack like that. You do not have the right or the stature or the place or the position to open your fool mouth and talk to a Ken Knapsack like that. You just don't. So shut your mouth and know your role and sit down like a good little boy. Sit down like a good little boy, you fucking child. Anyway, I'm sitting here calling him a fucking child while I'm acting like a fucking child. Hey, look, I'll call myself out. I'm bitching and whining and moaning and complaining and having this little meltdown. I'll call myself out on it. I am. I'm acting like a fucking child. I am. But that just infuriated me so much. Anyway, I'm not going to get hot again. I'm not going to get hot again. I'm not going to get hot again. All right. Mookbang Reviews writes, tell us how you really feel, John. You always do. We appreciate it. Well, yeah. Look, I try to keep my cool and composure. It's the Italian blood in me. I don't know. Maybe I overreact. Maybe I do. Maybe I shouldn't react as harshly as I do sometimes. Maybe that's true. But with me, it is what you get. Thanks for that, Mookbang. All right. Space King Luna writes, you are a YouTube god. Enough said. You tell him, John. Also, you built that channel. I hope you get the name Movie Talk again. Lifelong subscriber here. I don't want the name anymore. I'll tell you straight up. I don't want the name anymore. I don't want a name that a pathetic, know-nothing child like this Jack Hind kid is associated with. I don't want to. I was just joking around yesterday. I jumped on Twitter and said, hey, Collider, since you're not using the name Movie Talk, how about you let me take it back so I can keep the legacy of it alive? It was just kind of in fun. It was in fun. And remember how I said earlier in the show that some people will take anything that I say and try to make it look like it's negative? So I said that. It was totally in fun. And I had some people on Twitter going, ooh, John casting shade at Collider. I'm like, casting shade? I just thought it was a fun tweet. No, you're casting shade. See what I mean? No, this is why for 2.5 years, I wouldn't even say the word Collider, because anything I say, people are going to take and try to twist it to make it look negative and try to cause drama. But anyway, I put out this tweet last night. I meant it I just meant it in pure fun. I meant it in pure fun. And as a matter of fact, Mark Fernandez texted me and said, hey, that tweet made me laugh. And it was meant to. It was meant to be funny. And I wrote back, well, hey, listen, I'd also be serious. I would actually like to take it back. I don't want the name to die. I spent too many years of my life building that name. I would, if you're just going to let it sit in a closet and collect dust, I would love to take it back, to be honest with you. But it was just totally meant in fun. But honestly, I don't want it now. Anything that this kid touched, I want nothing to do with it now. So I don't want anything to do with it at this point. But thank you for writing that, Space King Luna. Josh Bing writes, today equals the best Campea rant ever. Major props. At the same time, let's not over glorify some grown man losing his shit and having a meltdown, which I did. I mean, look, that was a grown man losing his shit and having a meltdown. Let's not over glorify it, but oh my God, it made me hot. It did. I just read that shit. And, it was Christian Harloff who was the one who sent it to me at first. And then I had other people tweeting it to me saying, John, have you seen what this guy's saying? And then did you see what this guy said to Ken Knapsack? And it's like, holy shit. I just couldn't believe it. Anyway, Ulysses Smith III writes, fucknuts like this Jack Hind guy is why I literally lost the best paying job I ever had recently because of guys like him, entitled, selfish, greedy fools. And again, listen, and I want to reemphasize something here. When you are in a leadership position, and this is where I empathize with a kid like Jack. When you're in a leadership position, leadership sometimes means, because I have been there, that you have to do and say and make some decisions that are going to be completely unpopular. I get it. You do. I've been there. I've had to make those decisions. I've had to make decisions and do things that have made some people upset at me. I've had to do and say and make some decisions that has made some of my audience mad at me. I've had to do and say and make some decisions that has made some of my staff mad at me. I get it. That's part of the gig. You want to be the man? You got to make those decisions sometimes and do those things sometimes. So I get it and I empathize with it. I really do. That's why in my video yesterday, I was trying to be as supportive as possible. Look, I don't agree with this, but this is what they did. And I understand they're doing what's best for the company. And that's all you can really do is to make decisions that are best for your company and move forward, regardless of whatever mistakes were made to bring you to where you are now. All you can deal with is where you are now. I mean, I could have spent all of yesterday talking about all the mistakes they made to get them to that point, but that would have been pointless. The fact of the matter is they're at this position right now, and being in this position, all they can do is make decisions that are best for their organization. And I understood that and I respect that. But then you shut your mouth. Then you shut your mouth. And look, I am still not going to throw anybody under the bus. But I've had a former employee of mine decide to start doing this about me, who the last time we talked, it seemed like things were cool, but they started running their mouth about me. And I could have gotten on and talked about, here's the list of all the other staff members who were complaining about you on a daily basis. And here's the list of the other staff members that were insisting that I fire you, and throw them. And I could have, but I don't. Keep your mouth shut. When you're in a position like that, when you're in a leadership position like that, sometimes you got to do unpopular things. Sometimes you have to make unpopular decisions. But once you do, you then shut your mouth. You do the job and then you shut your mouth. And then you move forward. And if other people want to chirp, you let other people chirp. If they chirp to the point that it starts to affect your team, then maybe you chirp back. But other than that, you keep your mouth shut. Let other people chirp. You keep your mouth shut, stay above it, and you do your job. And putting out a tweet like that was mind-boggling. And again, how any company can have somebody who clearly has no common sense, who clearly has no discernment, and is so devoid of any wisdom that they would write something like that on the day that they pulled the rug out from a lot of faithful staff, a lot of faithful audience, and totally changed directions, and you put up stuff like that, and then you respond to a guy like Ken Knapsack with what you wrote there. Any company that would have somebody who is clearly that incompetent, you cannot have a person like that in any sort of a leadership role. Maybe you can work with the kid and try to train them over the next couple of years, and then maybe in a few years put them back in a position like that. But any company that would take somebody who is clearly as clueless as this kid is and have them as your number 2 guy in your company is a radical. I got to question the judgment of people over there. I know that sounds harsh, and I've been trying to be supportive, but I got to question the judgment of people over there, that you would have somebody clearly this much of a buffoon in a major senior leadership role in your company. That's just me. Whatever. Okay. Let me move on here. Joseph Sordy writes, your channel and many others know the real value of having a fan community. You foster a respectful forum for discussion, and that's why I love your content. Happy New Year, John and crew. Well, thank you so much, Joseph. Hey, listen, and I know I fail at that sometimes. I'm not going to be, facetious here. I know I can fail. I fail at that sometimes, but it is what I try to do. I will stumble. I will fail. I will make mistakes. I'll make the wrong turns. I'll make take the wrong things here and there. But that is what we try to do. And for you to say that, Joseph, to me is a great compliment, and I appreciate it very, very much. I'm a film editor, writes, hey, John, been a fan since AMC. Thank you so much. As a film editor myself, one of the films that has inspired me greatly is the Wachowskis' Speed Racer. In my opinion, it's a masterpiece, a deep story with to the day revolutionary filmmaking and artistry. I'd love your thoughts. I hate that movie. But I love that you love it. I love that you love it. And, you know, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I hate that film. I personally think the film is terrible. But a lot of the technical elements to that movie are super well executed. Now, it has been at least 10 years since I've seen this movie. It's been at least a decade since I've watched it again. I just remember really, really disliking the film. But also at the time remembering thinking, wow, from a technical point of view, they did some really great things technically. And probably as a film editor, you're in a unique position and perspective that you get to appreciate those things, probably appreciate those things even more than most regular film fans do. And I think that's great. But I'd be lying to you if I told you anything other than I really disliked the movie. I thought the movie was really, really poor. But that's just me. I love the fact that you love it. And I love the fact that as an editor and a professional yourself, you can look at those things and really pick out and appreciate those technical elements that were done pretty damn well. But again, I can't speak more specific to it because it's been at least 10 years since I've seen it myself. But anyway, there's that. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on it, film editor. All right. Mukbang Reviews writes, sends in a really large super chat, $50 super chat. Thank you so much, man. If this is a question, I will answer it in its own standalone video. All right. Mukbang writes in, please talk about building brand loyalty and user community. You've done it many times. Teach us in a small video. Contrast with what not to do, as in your epic rant. Loved it. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for that, Mukbang. And that's a great question. Now, let us not pretend like I'm the world's greatest expert on building community. I'm not. I think I know a couple of things about building community. But let's not pretend like I'm the world foremost expert. So let's just be real clear on that. I know a couple of things. I've had some experiences. We've had some success. So yeah, I think I will do a little review, Mukbang, about my philosophy of building community and how to build community and stuff like that. Again, though, understanding it'll be from my personal flawed perspective, but I'll give it as best as I can. So keep your eyes open for that. It may take a few days for it to come up, but keep your eyes open for that. I will put that in its own video. I think it's a fascinating topic for a video, Mukbang. So thank you so much for writing that in. And thank you again for supporting the channel on that level. I really appreciate it, man. All right. Julius Goodwin writes in a large super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, Julius. And Julius writes, peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The force shall free me. Rise, Darth Campea. I was going to say, that's the Sith thing there. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a response, Julius, to my meltdown earlier. I think that's a little bit of a response to my meltdown earlier, and I get it. So it is a little Sithish. It's a little Sithish. It's a little bit Sithish, Julie. I like that quote, though. Peace is a lie. There's only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The force shall free me. Rise, Darth Campea. I like that. Well, I can't remember exactly where that's from, though. I cannot remember exactly where that's from. But that's a great quote, Julius. Thanks for sharing that, dude. All right. Sir Cosmic Paladin writes, do you think bringing Palpatine back ruined what made Star Wars unique, as opposed to DC and Marvel, in that death matters in that universe? No, I still think, listen, I think understanding that I don't think it worked. At the end of the day, I don't think what they did with Palpatine in the movie worked. That doesn't change my original opinion before I saw the movie that bringing back Palpatine was a good idea. I still believe it was a good idea. It was a completely good idea. And when you understand the thing about, like, one of the things I don't like is I don't like having 4 fake deaths in every single movie. I just don't like having so many fake deaths in every single movie. Meanwhile, The Rise of Skywalker had like minimum 4 or 5 fake deaths. There was the... I don't want to give away spoilers, but there were like 4 or 5 fake deaths in this movie, and that really started to irritate me. But no, the idea in all of Star Wars, death has mattered. Other than Force ghosts throughout Star Wars, and somebody's died, they're dead. Having somebody like Palpatine, who understanding the narrative of Palpatine, that his lifelong quest has been about the quest to overcome and defeat death. That's been part and a core essential part of his character. And understanding that having him back in episode 9 actually becomes a tie something to tie together all of the Star Wars saga up until this point, I thought was a great idea. So no, I don't think bringing Palpatine back ruined anything. I think how they used Palpatine in this movie is unfortunately one of the worst things about the movie and one of the things that undermined the film. I think bringing him in was a great idea. I think you could have done fantastic things with him in this movie. I just don't feel like they did good things with him. So in principle, bringing him in was a great idea for all the reasons I already mentioned. Unfortunately, the execution of him for me did not work, unfortunately, and it left us in a place of that we're kind of at, unfortunately. Thanks for writing that in, Sir Cosmic. K Major writes, John, bro, this is why I will remain a Patreon and follower till the end of the line. You keep it real and honest. You have my deepest respect, strength, and honor, sir. Well, thank you so much for the support, K Major. I appreciate it, even though I was acting like a bit of a giant man baby. So forgive me for overdoing it a little bit, but like I said, I was really hot on it. So thank you for that, K Major. I appreciate that very much. K Major also writes, hey, John, I love talking Lord of the Rings with you. I just did a Return of the King rewatch, and that one line that gets overlooked sometimes, but gets me is Sam's, don't you dare let go. Dude, the chills. And you know what? We've been talking so much on the show lately, K Major, about Theoden. Because Theoden, I believe, is one of the most unsung characters in all the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Because when you look at some of the greatest grrr moments, they're Theoden's. Everything from ride to and Rohan shall answer to, I mean, it's just so many of the great lines and moments are Theoden's. And he's been overlapped. But we've been talking about Theoden so much that I think we might have been a little bit guilty of overlooking some of the actual core characters that are put front and center, like the Samwise Gamgee and those moments like that. So I agree with you, man. That is a great moment in the film, and I like it very, very much. All right, guys, listen. We've been going for almost 2 hours now. My throat's getting a little bit raw. So what I'm going to do now, if you will indulge me, I'm going to run downstairs quick and refill my drink, give my voice just a minute or two to recover. So if you guys will indulge me and hang tight, talk amongst yourselves for a little bit, I'm going to run down, get a quick drink. Don't go anywhere, guys. I will be right back. I'll see you in just a minute. Guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and your indulgence as I took a little bit of a chance there to refill my drink. Let's keep things going now and get through these last bunch of questions that we have. The next one comes to us from Max Sutton, who writes, if you want to get a girl, be Kylo Ren, because apparently you can get any girl by being a murderer. Dude, don't even get me going on that. Don't even get me going on that, because I'll have to get into a whole bunch of spoiler stuff. But dude, that did not sit right with me. That is something about this movie that totally did not sit right with me, because you're absolutely right. Hey, just be a murderer and kill the girl's kind of new father figure right in front of her eyes, and then murder all of her friends, and then decapitate a bunch of people, and then try to kill her. And yeah, that's how you get the girl. I mean, don't even get me started, dude, on that. That was infuriating. that part about the movie was absolutely infuriating to me. Anyway, K Major writes, dude, maybe it's just me, but the Yoda fights were highlights to me. Plus, did everyone forget that when Yoda was training Luke, he was bouncing around and doing flips, very similar to his own fighting style? Makes sense to me, at least. I'll tell you what, K Major, I've said this before on the show. I will now say it again. I do not like the prequels, but that doesn't mean there aren't things about the prequels that I like. And one of the things that I like about the prequels is something that most people hate, and that's Yoda's fights. I love Master Yoda's fights. Seeing that, 900 years are you look as good you will. Oh, I'm just little old Yoda. And then, flipping like ninjas all over the place. I love it. I love it. I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I respect that. But for me, even though I don't like those movies, I would eat it up every time Master Yoda would pull out the lightsaber and start going to town on a fool. I loved it. So I'm with you, K Major. You and me are on the same page as that, because I really, really like that part. All right, Joseph Sordy writes, top 10 of the decade. Number 1, Mad Max Fury Road. Number 2, Jojo Rabbit. Number 3, Joker. Number 4, Snowpiercer. Number 5, 12 Years a Slave. Great movie, not getting enough attention. Number 6, Inception. Number 7, Blade Runner 2049. Number 8, Skyfall. Number 9, The Revenant. Number 10, Logan. Nice list. I haven't seen, not a lot of people mentioning Mad Max Fury Road, actually, which now that you mention it, Joseph, is kind of surprising to me. Now that you mentioned Mad Max Fury Road, I don't know that I've seen anybody put that on their top films of the decade list, which is surprising. Not because I think it deserves to be up there, but because I know so many people love that movie so much. But then again, you're talking about the top films of the decade. That's a big, big list. So anyway, I adore all. You know what? The one film that is on your list that a lot of people love that I just don't love nearly as much is Snowpiercer. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Snowpiercer is a bad film. I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm just saying I'm not nearly as into that particular film as, say, a lot of other people are. So that's just me. That's just me. I'm just not into Snowpiercer as much, but you got a lot of really good films on that list, man. All right. Brandon Moon just sends in a super chat just to be supportive. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. Ethan Elia writes, Hey, John, I just love the show and all the Star Wars talks. Thank you so much. But one question. Do you think any Mandalorian characters will be Force sensitive? Besides Baby Yoda, maybe Mando? Thanks and stay filthy. Well, listen, we know from the lore of the Darksaber that there have been Mandalorians that are Force sensitive. So absolutely, any being, any creature can be Force sensitive. So I don't see why not. Mando himself, no. They've never had anything that remotely suggests that he has any Force sensitivity, so I don't think it'll be Mando himself. But clearly there have been Mandalorians that have been Force sensitive in the past, and I don't see why they couldn't do that. Now, do I think they will do that in season 2? No, but it's totally a possibility, and that's definitely on the table, Ethan, for sure. All right, Brandon Moon writes, what do you think of the upcoming Mortal Kombat movie? I think it has a good cast and James Wan is great. Yes, James Wan is great, but James Wan is not directing the film. See, I want to be excited about it. And I'm excited in concept for it, that we're getting a Mortal Kombat movie again. Great. But I would be lying if I didn't tell you I'm a little bit nervous and apprehensive about two things. Number one, we have a first-time director. Now, everybody's got to have a first movie to direct. Everybody's got to have a first time out. I get that. But it's a first time director. So that makes me just a little bit nervous. There are clearly some very few and small percentage of examples of first time directors doing great things. But it is a first time director, so it's just a little precautious. The other thing is, this is a first time writer. At least the writer, this is the first time they're having any of their writing actually being turned into a movie. So it's a writer who has never had a feature film made from their writing before. Those two elements put together make me a little bit nervous. I'll be honest with you. They make me nervous right now. So I'm not going to let myself get too excited until I see the movie. Then hopefully the movie will blow us away. But again, James Wan's great, but James Wan's not directing this film. It's a first-time director with essentially a first-time writer, a writer who's never had a film made out of their writing before. So one or the other, okay. Both, a little bit nervous. Now, I'm not casting shade at it, not at all. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope it's really good. It's just that those two facts are going to make me keep my expectations in check for now until we go in to watch the movie with an open mind and hopefully it blows us all away. All right, a fan of Peanuts writes, 2019 top 10. Number 10, Little Women. Number 9, Marriage Story. Number 8, Knives Out. Number 7, The Lighthouse. Number 6, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Number 5, Toy Story 4 and Endgame. Number 4, Booksmart. Number 3, The Farewell. Number 2, Honey Boy. And number 1, Joker. A lot of those films are in my top 10 list as well. In no particular order, Knives Out is in my top 10 list. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood's in my top 10. Booksmart's in my top 10. The Farewell's in my top 10. Joker's in my top 10. So, and I totally really enjoy all those movies. I haven't seen Little Women yet. That's one of the 2 or 3 movies I still have yet to get caught up on. So I've got to get that one knocked out of the way first. But a lot of good films on this. What a great year for a film. That's one of the things I love about these top 10 lists that everybody's sending in, is that it just really reaffirms what truly a great year at the cinema it's been. There's been a number of big disappointments in the movies this year, but there's also been as Robert Meyer Burnett would put it, an embarrassment of riches of some really fantastic films. And I think you just named a number of them there, fan of Peanuts. Thanks for sending that in, man. All right, next up, John McKinney writes, it's a damn shame that people forget the 2D Clone Wars that ran from 2002 to 2005. It was by the same guy who did Samurai Jack. Great show, much better than the CG show and better than the prequel trilogy. I gotta admit, I'm not a big fan of either. Better than the prequel trilogy, maybe. Yeah, I'll say I like the Clone Wars animated show, even the older one. I like them more than the prequel trilogy. Yeah, I'll give it that. I will admit I'm not the biggest fan of it, though. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm rare. See, that's why if you guys saw my show yesterday, somebody wrote in and asked me this. They asked, hey, John, now, I just watched Mandalorian, but I haven't watched a lot of Star Wars, and watching The Mandalorian has me really intrigued about checking out some other Star Wars stuff. Should I watch the animated stuff? And this is what I said, and I believe this. I said, well, as far as the Clone Wars go, I liked Rebels, so go ahead and watch Rebels. But as far as the Clone Wars stuff goes, I am not a big fan of I don't think it sucks, but I'm not a personal fan of the Clone Wars stuff. That's just me. That being said, I always recommend people do watch it because so many people really enjoy the Clone Wars. So the fact that I personally don't like it, don't let that hinder you from checking it out, because even though I don't like it, a lot of fans do. A lot of Star Wars fans really like the Clone Wars animated stuff. So don't be dissuaded because I didn't like it myself personally. The fact of the matter is a lot of people did. And so there might be a really good chance that you would like it as well. So I usually recommend people check that out. But again, it's just never really been my thing in particular, John McKinney. But you're right. A lot of people always overlook that one. They really do. Let's see. Somebody obviously impersonating Jack Hind, Collider VP. I have a micro penis and I eat dog turds for snacks. Everyone please spread the word. Well, I don't encourage, okay, I know it's meant in fun and everything. I don't encourage it mimicking somebody else. I mean, I know you can do it, but it's not a good idea to do. I know you meant it in fun, not a good idea to do though, just so we clear that up. All right. Jay Boogie writes, when will we see a Robotech film? Who knows, man? I've seen all my favorite childhood entertainment on screen at this point, except for this property. Have you heard anything? Listen, back when I was still at, the movie blog, when I was still doing my website, the movie blog, every once in a while, I would grab my laptop and I would walk to a local little coffee shop, sit down and write out my articles there. And I still remember where I was. I still remember the table I was sitting at when I sat down and I opened it up and it said Tobey Maguire was going to be a producer on a Robotech movie. And he was going to produce it. And there might even be a chance that he's going to star in it. That was like 12 or 13 years ago. Now, then the Transformers became popular and you thought for sure now they're going to do Robotech. And there was some buzz and there's some talk and there were some whispers, but nothing ever materialized. Even now, there's some buzz and talk and whispers about it, but I'm not seeing anything really tangibly materialize. There's always all these reports and always all these stories, but very few things actually materialize. So the answer to the question, Jay Boogie, is no, I have nothing definitive. I keep hearing about people saying they're going to do things, but I never actually see anything getting done. So at this point, I'm still waiting for something too, as I have been for like a dozen years since they made that first announcement that Tobey Maguire was going to produce one, and then nothing ever happened. So we'll have to wait and see, dude. All right, DG writes, with the new Mortal Kombat coming out sometime next year, do you think this will be a more darker rated R version? Darker, I don't know. Rated R, yes. I believe they've already made that pretty clear, but rated R doesn't necessarily mean dark, right? Like, Deadpool's got a lot of R-rated material. It's not a particularly really super dark movie, though. There are PG-13 movies that are much darker than, say, Deadpool. So I don't know how dark this version will be, especially not with James Wan directing it. I think James Wan is going to bring more of his Aquaman sensibilities to Mortal Kombat as a producer. So I'm not expecting it to be terribly dark, but I am expecting it to be rated R. And they've already said they're going to do some of the finishing moves in it, which are going to be obviously quite graphic. So definitely, I feel like it's going to be rated R. All right. Helen Elizabeth writes, hey, John, just wanted to say big fan from the UK. Thank you so much, Helen. I appreciate that. Love your content and hashtag fuck that guy. He's a Brit. Sorry for that. It is hilarious how many people, how many friends from across the pond I have seen today on Twitter apologizing for this guy. And believe me, listen, one person acting a certain way is not a reflection on an entire people group. When me as a Canadian kid, when I say or do something dumb, I hope everybody understands it's not a reflection on all Canadians. When an American says and does something really stupid and dumb, I hope everybody understands that's not necessarily a reflection on all Americans. So no need to apologize, Helen. No need to apologize, but thank you for the kind words. All right, Jesse C. writes, seen The Last Jedi 5 times. The last 2 times were at home. I came to the conclusion that I don't like this movie. I've seen The Rise of Skywalker 3 times now, and I don't like it. I just rewatched The Last Jedi again because I was bored, and I really enjoyed it. No idea why. Has this happened to you? Yeah, there are times when, there are some movies I find that they'll have certain things to them that if you watch them at the right time, they may have a certain bigger one-sided impact on you than the other. It doesn't change how you feel about the movie overall, but I'm trying to think of a movie that I don't particularly like. Because there are movies I don't like that I know I've had experiences where I watch them on a particular day, though, and they just hit me the right way that day, even though in general I don't like that movie. Like, I know I'm not a big fan of this movie, but it was on this one day, and maybe because there was something else that was going on with me, but it just seemed to hit me the right way that day. You know what I mean? So I totally understand where you're coming from on that, Jesse. I really do. It doesn't change, for me, it doesn't normally change my overall opinion. It doesn't always change my overall opinion about the movie in general, but there can be days that movies you don't like, you might enjoy them on a particular day depending on what your circumstances are. So that's an interesting observation, Jesse. Thanks for sharing that, man. All right, John McKinney writes, out of all the times that we've seen Lex Luthor, it always bothered me that we never see him in a battle suit. I would have liked to have seen Billy Zane or Jason Isaacs in the role. Again, it really all depends on how the character is written. If the character is written a certain way, Billy Zane or Jason Isaac could be 1,000% the wrong guy for the role. It all depends on how he's written. I mean, listen, Lex Luthor in a battle suit, in the grand scheme of time of how long Lex Luthor's been around, Lex Luthor in a battle suit is still a very relatively new thing, right? That's not really something that's been a part of the grand overall lore of Lex Luthor for very long at all. And you got to be willing to go in a particular direction with your movie if you're going to show that. I think it's the right call. I think it just makes it a little bit too cartoony. Lex Luthor in a big battle suit. I think that might make it a little bit too cartoony, but that's just my feelings on it. I'm ready for more Superman without Lex Luthor as the main villain. Maybe still as a presence. Lex Luthor's a very cool presence, but I'm ready for more Superman without Lex Luthor as the main villain. But battle suit or no battle suit. That's just kind of how I feel right now. But anyway, I know you're not alone in that opinion, though, Mr. McKinney. I know you're not alone in that opinion because I know a lot of people that feel the same way that you do about that, by the way. All right. An anonymous viewer writes in, over your right shoulder on the shelf, there appears to be two stormtroopers. Yep, right there. Two stormtroopers. It's really blurry, but they appear to be in a compromising... They do. With the blur, they do appear to be in a compromising position, don't they? Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. No, they aren't. Actually, let me point these out here. Let me reach over and grab these. Let's see if I can get these. All right. These fellas... this is a great brand, by the way. These stormtroopers, this set of two, are from a company. These aren't Sideshow or anything. These little guys are from a company called Kotobukiya. And Kotobukiya makes some very cool things. Actually, that guy right there is a Flash figure. It's also a really cool figure. I've got up over there, I've got a really good Deadpool figure as well. But these guys are great. And unlike, say, a Sideshow collectible, which runs you about $250 to $350, depending on the one. And the Sideshow stuff is great. The Sideshow Hot Toys are great. These are, they're not 1/6 scale. I believe they're 1/10 scale. I believe that's what they are. So they're smaller than the Hot Toys. But this a pair of two figures was like $60. This was like $60 for these. And I love these guys. I think they look great. And I love the Flash one. I love my Deadpool one. I've got a Hulk one as well. But I think these are just wonderful. So that's a brand. If you want to collect stuff like this, but you don't want to spend the type of money that you need to spend on like Hot Toys, which are kind of the crown jewel of this stuff. But I cannot recommend highly enough this Kotobukiya stuff. I've been really, really happy with them. And they work quite well for me. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Sorry. There we go. Let's get them put down out of the way a little bit. Okay, let's move on here. But it did look, with the blurry background, it did look like they were in a little bit of a compromising position, didn't it? All right. Jay Boogie writes, from the time Joker came out, I had Phoenix as the guaranteed winner for the best actor at the Oscars. But after sitting with Bale's performance in Ford versus Ferrari, I'd like him to take it home. Who do you see winning? I'm not really sure at this point. It's a little bit up in the air. I mean, it very well could be Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. It very well could be. But Two Popes, dude, is going to have a serious run at it. I mean, yeah, honestly, right now, I don't have a pick. I wouldn't put money on this. I don't think that Bale's going to get a nomination. I could be wrong about that, and I would be totally cool if he does get a nomination. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to get one of the nominations. I'm cool with it if he does, and I could be wrong. I wouldn't put money on it, but I don't know if he's going to get nominated. I still think if I had to put $5 on it, my best is Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. That's $5, but I wouldn't put $50 on it. Let's just say that for now, Jay Boogie. We're going to find out soon. The nominations are getting announced in just a couple of weeks, so let's keep our ears open. All right. John McKinney writes, question 1. What do you think of Michael Eisner's criticism of Rise of Skywalker? I have not even heard them, so I can't comment on that. Question 2, who was a better CEO, Michael Eisner or Bob Iger? I'm going with Michael Eisner, even though he wasn't perfect. I believe you asked this question before, John, and I believe I answered this in a companion video yesterday. But to answer it again, I personally believe you have to go with Bob Iger. When you look at all the accomplishments and how he has led to one of the most significant expansions of the Disney brand and the Disney dominance during his reign, it's very, very difficult for me not to go with Iger. Now, I think there's a really good case and a really good argument and a really good debate to be had with the whole Eisner versus Iger thing. I'm just saying, for me, sitting down without putting a lot of thought to it, you just look at all of the accomplishments that have happened under Iger, and it's definitely hard not to go with Iger. But hey, a really good, compelling argument could change my mind on that, John. A good, compelling argument could change my mind on that. All right. Liam Martin writes, hey, John, sending love from Australia. And again, all thoughts to you, my friend in Australia, with all the fire stuff going on there, man. That is just crazy. Love your work. Been watching for years. Bring on the filthy. Thanks so much, man. And please, by all means, make sure you stay safe, keep your family safe, all that kind of stuff. And I really hope this whole fire situation over there in Australia gets under control real fast, man. So thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for the kind words, Liam. All right. William Crook writes, I believe Inception is connected to Tenet, the same way Unbreakable was connected to Split. Well, I hope anyway. Keep it up. Also, good rant. Well, thanks so much for that, William. I disagree. Then again, if you had asked me halfway through watching Split, if I thought Split was going to be connected to Unbreakable, I would have said no. And then the ending happened. So, clearly surprised a lot of us. I just don't see Christopher Nolan doing that. I don't think Christopher Nolan is interested in creating some shared cinematic universe thing. I don't think he's interested in it. Now, I never would have thought that Unbreakable and Split was either, and it turns out that it was. So maybe we could end up being surprised. But right now, I'm going to stick with I don't think so. All right, John Pope sends in Nirvana or Smashing Pumpkins. I'm going to say the unpopular thing. I kind of prefer Smashing Pumpkins. I am not as big on Nirvana as most people are. Now, they had a couple of really, really big anthem songs for sure, but overall, I just kind of like the music of Smashing Pumpkins just a little bit more. That's just me. All right, Ryan Fenley writes, hey, John, you were a great commentator in the Schmodown. Thank you so much. Will we ever see you again? Also, who is your favorite player to watch? Mine has always been Roca. He is still the team's champ. Dagnino would be a close second for entertainment purposes only, LOL. I mean, Christian has asked me many times about coming back and doing commentary on the Schmodown. The fact of the matter is I'm super busy and I'm going to be trying to make a documentary. So at this point, I will give a very definite maybe. But it was a lot of fun. I love doing that with Christian and Mark both. I used to love calling it with Christian, Mark, or Ken, whatever. It was always fun doing it with those guys. My two favorite guys to watch when I was at the table, Okay, so there have been many great male, female competitors that have come through since I wasn't doing it anymore. But I'll tell you, my two favorite guys while I was a part of it, one was Dan Murrell. Dude's a beast. Absolute beast. Hell, he beat me. I beat him on movie fights, but he beat me on Schmodown. The dude's a beast. I loved calling. It was always a pleasure being there and calling Dan Murrell. It was always a pleasure. The other was JTE. I think I'm the one who came up with the phrase of I believe in JTE. Might have been me. Dude was not only better than people thought he was, but he was hilarious to watch. I thought he was hilarious to watch. So, yeah, my two favorites, Dan Murrell and JT. Again, a lot of great competitors, male and female, both have come through since I was there, but those two are probably the ones that were my favorites. All right. Piz writes, is it Piz next? Yes. Piz writes, assuming there is some extended cut of The Rise of Skywalker, what are the chances Disney does another release? Sony just did it for Spider-Man Far From Home. Is there any amount of fans demanding that would change their minds? I don't think so. I don't see them do it. Star Wars has never done that, and I don't think they're about to start. So listen, every movie ever made has had 5 different versions that have been longer than the eventual cut that comes out. That's every movie ever made. You know? A lot of times the first cut of a movie comes in and it's 4 hours long or 5 hours long. And then they cut it and edit. And then they get it down and then they do some little bit of reshoots and blah, blah, blah. And then they come in with whatever their movie ends up being. Every movie has that. Other Star Wars movies have had that. So does such a thing exist? Of course it exists because that happens with every single movie. But will they put out another one? I highly doubt it. It's not something they've ever done with Star Wars. I don't think they're about to start now. I don't think that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion right now. I don't think that they will. Okay. Next up, another semi-professional writes, given 50 Shades has mentioned his struggles and how much his community means to him, it's disappointing to see people negatively comment on how often he sends in chats. Come on, guys, we can do better. I don't know why would anybody comment negatively? Like any of you who are commenting negatively on somebody enjoying the community and wanting to participate and sending in stuff, and they're not sending in stupid things. Why would anybody be down on them for that? I think that's great. That's somebody who's, listen, that 50 Shades is not only actively participating in the show and being a great participant, he's supporting the show too while he's doing it. Show that you're watching. So I don't see why anybody would give him. I've seen people do that from time to time with other people who've been really active. And I don't get that. I just don't. So yeah, cut everybody some slack here. Thanks for sharing that, another semi-professional. Superman Steve writes, hey, John, you are amazing. Thank you so much, Superman Steve. Speaking of amazing, what do you think about David Blaine? I seriously wish he would come to Australia. The magician David Blaine? Am I thinking of the right guy? I don't even know if I'm thinking of the right guy. Hold a second here. David Blaine. The street magician, right? I've seen, you know what? I know which one, because I see a bunch of videos of magicians, things like that. I think David Blaine isn't the one that he was in Harrison Ford's house and he did a magic trick with some fruit and Harrison Ford looked freaked out and he says, get the fuck out of my house. I believe that was David Blaine. If that was the case, very entertaining. Very entertaining. I don't know a lot about him. I've just seen some YouTube videos and maybe a special here and there a while ago. But yeah, I think very entertaining. Other than that, not a lot more to think about that. I don't really follow the whole magician scene very much, to be honest with you. Another semi-professional writes, John, you said George Lucas above Spielberg and Williams in an earlier question, but what if the trio was Lucas, Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby for pop cultural influence? Would you still say Lucas? Yep, I still say Lucas. I think Marvel is a huge thing as well. And by the way, I would take Stan Lee over Spielberg and Williams as well, as far as their pop cultural influence goes. So if you had said Lee, Spielberg, and Williams, I would have taken Stan Lee, but I will still say George Lucas, even out of that expanded group. So yes, I stick with that. I just think, pop culturally over the past 40 years, nothing has made a bigger pop cultural footprint over 4 decades than Star Wars has. So I'm going to stick with that one. I'm going to say, and others may disagree, and that's totally cool. That's why it's fun being film fans together. We can all have different opinions, but that is my opinion on that one. So there's that. Thanks a lot for sending that in, another semi-professional. Chase Scott writes, on your show, Kyle Newman gave a shout out to Geghead's role-playing series, Galaxy of Crime. Have you had a chance to check it out? I've enjoyed it and appreciate the quality of their set pieces. If that's not, that's the one with Freddie Prinze Jr., right? Because I believe, I just forget the name of it. And let me just double check there, because I was actually just emailing with Freddie Prinze the other day. Hold on a second. Geghead, what's it called? Galaxy of Crime. So if that's the one that they're playing, it's the Star Wars role-playing game they're playing. Let me just double check this to make sure it's the one I'm thinking of. Yes, I think it is the right one. Yeah, that Kyle's playing in. Yeah. I checked out the first one. And I thought it was really good. And I was actually talking to Freddie, or I was emailing back and forth with Freddie the other day, just saying, dude, I saw the role-playing game you're doing. I couldn't remember the name of it. I said, I watched the role-playing thing that you were doing with Kyle, and it looks like a lot of fun. It looks great. So yes, I did have a chance to check it out. At least I don't know if they put up their second episode yet. I just know that I checked out the first one. And I appreciate the quality as well. All right. Thanks for that, Scott, Chase. All right. NR99 writes, hey, John, I wanted to apologize for posting a super chat like 4 days ago, which involved a Rise of Skywalker spoiler. I'll try to be careful. Hey, listen, I know when the show is on and you think of something you're excited to bring up as a topic for the community and for me to talk about, sometimes, hey, listen, I've been doing a show and accidentally let a spoiler slip. I've done it. You've done it. Everybody's done it. And I totally get it. I knew you didn't mean anything by it. I knew you didn't do it on purpose. So no need to apologize, but I think that's really big of you to offer one anyway. So good on you, NR99. Thanks for sending that in. All right, let's see here. John McKinney writes, I would love to see Bully by Rockstar Games get made into a movie. I'm not familiar with that game. The main character fights against bullies, and Gary Smith is such a great villain and has potential to be on Hollywood's greatest villains. I'm not familiar with it, but hold on a second. Let me pull it up here. Bully Rockstar. Actually, let me bring up the gameplay. Some gameplay footage. Ooh, I like the animation style. I'm looking at it right now. Let me bring it up on the screen here so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. I'm liking the style of it. Again, this is actual gameplay of it. So you actually the fights are actually like school courtyard kind of fight things. That's interesting. All right, I am not familiar. Okay, so this is an older game because this video came out in April of 2016 because it does look older. It looks like older style graphics. I gotta admit, I've never even heard of the game. Thank you for putting that on my radar there, man. I might have to check that out a little bit because that looks interesting where the actual action takes place in a schoolyard fight. That's intriguing to me. Thanks for sharing that, John. All right, let's move on here. NR99 says, staying with Star Wars, though, if you rewrote the prequels, what's the main thing you would change? Whew. I mean, if I could just change one thing, and only one isolated thing that I could change, honestly, I think the main thing is probably just remove Jar Jar. And I know that sounds stereotypical and like an easy answer. But when you watch The Phantom Menace, it actually starts well. Now, yeah, the Nemoidians and we must disrupt all communication all down there. I mean, yeah, there are problems with that. Don't get me wrong. That's why the anti-cheese edit, if you guys have ever have a chance to watch the anti-cheese edit of the prequels, they are significantly better movies. And that's one of the things that they changed. That they changed the Nemoidians into a completely alien voice with subtitles and changed some of the dialogue and just little things like that. But if I was given a magic lamp and I could rub the lamp and bring out a genie, says you get one wish, you get to change one specific thing about the prequels. and I could only pick one thing. I'd probably just go with the removal of Jar Jar, because honestly, despite the Neimoidians, the Phantom Menace starts pretty well. And then once they get onto the planet's surface and they bump into Jar Jar, that's where everything really started to go wrong. And so if I could just do one thing, now there are many others that I would change as well, but if I could just change one isolated thing, I think it would be just take Jar Jar out. All right. Mike writes, remember when Green Lantern Corps and Cyborg were coming in 2020? Yep. That was just them getting a little bit ahead of themselves. But, hey, remember when a Flash movie was going to come out in 2018? Remember that? And here we are. They still say they're doing one. I'll believe it when I see it. All right. G. Paul writes, hey, John, you blocked me on Twitter over a misunderstanding on your Fallen Order tweet. I truly apologize if I came out as an a-hole. I'm a huge fan. There have been some times that I block people on Twitter. Most of the time, if people get blocked on my Twitter, it's actually not me. I have a couple of people who keep an eye on my Twitter feed for me and will moderate it for me. So it may have been, it was most likely one of them. I don't actually get around to blocking most people myself, but I do have moderators who I empower to do that. So I'm not familiar with it, but I will keep my eyes open and see what I can see about that, G. Paul. All right. Mike Hill writes, maybe you meant this. I heard this Jack Hin guy is British. If he is, I'm embarrassed, really embarrassed. Again, hey, look, just because as a Canadian, when I say the odd, stupid thing, not all Canadians should be embarrassed. He's not you, so don't worry about it, Mike. Don't worry about it in the least. All right, let's see. What's next here? Underpants older than this kid. You're referring to what I was saying before. All right, Underpants older than this kid writes, when is the campaign getting started to get movies start on time? This needs to happen soon. I can't say much right now, but I have been putting some planning into it. So I'm just going to tell you soon. Keep your eyes open. I will let you know more soon, but it is because to me, it is one of the big problems of the movie going experience right now. Look, movie trailers are awesome. We all love movie trailers. I love movie trailers, but the fact that for those of you who don't know what Underpants Older Than This Kid is talking about, it's talking about the fact that, a movie says it starts at 7 and then doesn't start till 7:30 because we literally have like 25, 30 minutes of commercials and trailers. And I love trailers, but sometimes too much of a good thing is a real thing. And we're going to be talking about that more. There's more on that coming. Thanks for asking and bringing it up. All right. Murray Reich writes, what I wanted to say on Thursday's show was after I saw Uncut Gems, I passed by a room playing Cats, and there were 4 people inside. One of them were playing on the phone, and the other looked bored. Yikes. And actually, I'm just curious. Let me look up right now. I'm curious where Cats box office is right now. Cats box office right now at the moment. Where's Box Office Mojo? Here we go. Cats worldwide. Hey, it's still going to take a huge financial bath, but it's made $43.4 million worldwide. That's actually more than I thought it was going to be. Now, the budget of the film is $95 million, which means this movie probably needs to make around 210 is going to be my guess. This movie needs to make around $210 million to break even. It ain't going to get anywhere near that, but I got to tell you, $43 million is more than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be at like 25 right now, but it's at 43. So it's still going to be a massive, massive money loser. But there were 4 people inside. One of them were playing on their phone and one looked bored. Oh, not a good sign, Murray. Not a good sign. All right. Let's see here. Martin Rari writes, hey, John, you're the movie GOAT. Oh, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. Someone recommended I Saw the Devil. It's amazing. You should watch it and give us your thoughts. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I didn't have a chance to look at it yet, but I asked somebody the other day to email me a link to the trailer, and I noticed in my email that it showed up. Somebody sent that to me. Now, I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet, but I've had a couple of people recommending that particular movie to me. I Saw the Devil. And I'm going to click on the trailer, and at some point, hopefully I'll have a chance to check it out. But if any of you guys have been thinking about it, a number of people have been writing in about this movie, I Saw the Devil. So you might want to give that one a chance, because a lot of people seem to be sending in and recommending it, and I hope I get around to watching it at some point too, Martin. Thanks for bringing that up, man. All right, Edgar Navarro writes, Yennefer really doesn't like wearing shirts, huh? I really enjoyed that series. Oh, Yennefer. You probably meant Yennefer. Really doesn't like wearing shirts, huh? I really enjoyed that series. I'm almost done with it, and I started the game, which is just great. Listen, I'll tell you what. I love that Yennefer character. Now, there are some people who criticize The Witcher that, you know, they spend as much time on this Yennefer character as they do on the main character. And they're not wrong. Yennefer gets almost as much screen time as The Witcher does, Geralt of Rivia. But her story is wonderful. And the actress, and I keep forgetting the name of the actress, she's great in it. She's naked a lot. You're not wrong. She doesn't like wearing shirts. And when she's not naked, she's wearing these amazing dresses. Like, I'm not a fashion guy at all. But we were watching an episode the other night because Anne and Corey are trying to get caught up on Witcher. And like just looking at some of the dresses she wears, I'm like, I have no fashion sense and I have no interest in fashion. But oh my God, some of the dresses she wears are amazing, like look really cool. And then when she's not wearing those dresses, she's naked. But I mean, it's such a great character. It's such a great character. And yes, they do spend an awful lot of time on her for a secondary character, but I ate every second up because I thought the Yennefer narrative was every bit as compelling as the Geralt of Rivia narrative. I really did. Anyway, Abdullah Al-Ghanem writes, "Hey John, thanks for your suggestion. I bought the novel Lords of the Sith Nice on audiobook. I am halfway through, and I have to say that I am really impressed with the work they put into it. The sound effects and reading is fantastic. I'm really loving it so far. My absolute number one favorite canon era new Star Wars novels that have come out in the last few years is Lords of the Sith. I love this thing. And the audiobook is an incredible experience. An absolute incredible experience because it's not just like a regular audiobook where it's one narrator reading through the lines. It's a very gifted narrator doing all the different voices, but more than that, they put full radio drama production into it. They have sound effects and music and all this kind of stuff, and it makes it a real immersive experience. It's fabulous. And you build on top of that one of the best Star Wars stories I've read in a long time and then listened to in a long time. Lords of the Sith is a top-notch winner. Abdullah, I'm glad you gave it a chance. I hope you enjoy the rest of it because I absolutely love that story. All right. Jonathan Hernandez writes, "Anyways, fuck that guy." John Campea 2020. That's the quote. You need to make one of those Obama colored shirts where instead of saying hope, my face says, "Anyway, fuck that guy." That should be my slogan. That should be my... Somebody with great Photoshop skills, go ahead and put that together for me. Thanks for that, Jonathan. All right, Matthew Curry writes, "One movie I'm surprised isn't on anyone's top 10 of the decade is The Martian." It's funny, somebody actually did mention The Martian a little bit earlier. I absolutely love that movie. Appreciate the hell out of you, John. Thanks so much, Matt. Martian is incredible. And here's the thing. Everybody forgets about it now. But the iconic director Ridley Scott, he was on a big losing streak. He had gone through a chunk of years where he was just churning out some awful movies. And then he did The Martian. And The Martian is incredible. It's mostly one character in one environment. I mean, it cuts away to the other characters back on Earth, and that's fantastic too. But a lot of the times the movie is one character in one environment. And when you're left with that, you need excellent direction and you need excellent acting. Whether you're talking about Buried with Ryan Reynolds in a box, whether you're talking about Castaway with Tom Hanks on an island, when you as a director in your story has chunks of your movie that is just one character in an environment, you've got to be able to direct the hell out of that, and you got to be able to act the hell out of that. And Martian is a movie that does both. And that was a real return to form for Ridley Scott. Because everybody forgets, before that, there was some dry period there for Ridley Scott, but wow, what a great job he did on that movie. Aiden Mari writes, "John, thank you for saying what us fans have been feeling for the past 2 years. I also want to thank you for building / continuing to build a community that I can come to when I feel overwhelmed with anxiety or my personal life. Thank you so much." No, dude, thank you. Thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for allowing me to do this. I am floored every day that I get to, I am so fortunate and privileged that I get to get up and talk movies every day with this incredible fan community. Not John Campea fan community, movie fan community. I'm just overwhelmed by that every single day. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of your day. Thank you for being part of all of us as the overall film fan community and this community here. So, and just thank you, Aiden, for saying such nice things. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, dude. Very, very much. All right. Taki75. We're rounding it out here, guys. We're almost done here. Taki75 writes, I almost died laughing with your Mr. Rogers Macho Man crossover, and especially your Macho Man impression. Ooh, yeah. Please do it as often as you can. I can't even remember what was I talking about when the Macho Man thing came up. I do it. First, I'm terrible at impressions. So whenever I always try to do impressions on the show, and then I always immediately regret it. But there was a Macho Man thing came up, and I can't remember what we were talking about. I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do? A Macho Man in there? Ooh, yeah. This is a terrible Macho Man. My buddy Ryan, I've got this buddy Ryan who everybody always thinks is Ben Affleck. He's one of mine and Ann's best friends. And you'll often see him in pictures with us that we post online. And everybody mistakes him for Ben Affleck quite often. But he does actually a really good Macho Man. He does a really, really good Macho Man, actually. Harloff does a really good Macho Man too, as a matter of fact. But I can't even remember what I was talking about when I was doing the Mr. Rogers Macho Man. I can't even remember what it was I was talking about, Taki. Anyway, thank you for the kind words, though. Aiden Murray writes, Hey, John, I recently fell in love with Star Wars all over again. I feel like I did when I was a kid. With that being said, I want to get into the canon. What canon books would you recommend me dive into first? Thank you so much. Bring on the filthy. All right. So we were just, ironically enough, just talking about the Lords of the Sith. I have the couple of books I would really recommend. And it's funny because on one of the last episodes of Dark Side, Light Side, somebody asked me and Harloff that, and we gave two different sets of answers. Actually, a couple of our books overlapped, but we had some different ones too. I love, and I'm forgetting the author's name. Anyway, Lost Stars. Gloria. Oh, I got to look it up here because it's going to kill me. Lost Stars author. Hold on a second. Her name, Claudia Gray, not Gloria. Claudia Gray. Claudia Gray wrote this great book that's a little YA. Admittedly, it's a little YA kind of story. Yes, but don't let that deter you. This Lost Stars story, basically, it starts with these two kids, a guy and a girl, forever connected. And one kind of goes, and it happens over the course of the 3 Star Wars movies. So the background of Lost Stars is New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. That's the background. Only it's being told about these two individual characters as all that stuff's going on. And as they start to grow older, one joins the rebellion, one joins the Empire. And it's wonderful. And the way it weaves in the original trilogy as to what happens from the original trilogy, but seen through the eyes of these two characters, it's wonderful. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book. And if you get the audiobook, much like Lords of the Sith, with all the production value that's put into it as well, with the music and sound effects, highly recommend that. So definitely check out Lost Stars. I would also really recommend Tarkin. I like the Tarkin novel very much, which is kind of about the origin of Tarkin, Governor Tarkin, that is, and Lords of the Sith. God, I love Lords of the Sith. I've already talked about it, so I won't go into it again too much here. But yeah, those are a couple I would really recommend. Lost Stars. If you've only got time for like maybe one or two, Lost Stars and Lords of the Sith. And I really think you're going to enjoy it. There's a few other good ones too, but those are the ones I would start with myself. Anyway, thanks for asking, Aiden. I hope you enjoy them. All right. Last 2 questions, guys, and we're going to wrap it up today. We're getting close to 3 hours here. All right. Domingo Gires writes, Hey, John, Feliz Años Nuevo. Question, why is CGI movies so expensive when it isn't a physical resource? Well, okay, great question, man, and a very large super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, man. I appreciate that. A lot of people don't understand why, and that's a perfectly good question. Here's the first thing I would say. The next time you go to a visual effects heavy movie, Watch the end credits. Watch the end credits. Because you'll get, the actors for a second or two. Some of the staff for a second or two, blah, blah. Then you get to the visual effects credits. For like 8 minutes straight. Visual effects credits, 8 different visual effects companies with like 100 people of each one and blah, 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 blah. Visual effects get their expense from the sheer amount of manpower required to do it. Like when you see an animation of, a CG animated half deer, half robot fighting a CG animated Olympian god, and it lasts 5 minutes. That's not one person sitting down at their computer for 3 or 4 months to make that happen. That takes dozens and dozens and dozens of people just for that one shot over the course of a year or two. Now, you think about that. As you're sitting there and watching the credits roll for a movie and you're seeing all this huge amount of names going on. Remember, this is 1-2 years of each one of these full-time paid digital effects artists, and you start to try to do the math in your head. On top of administrative fees and equipment and gear and rendering time and blah, blah, blah. Just think about all these names going up, the hundreds and thousands sometimes of names, scrolling across a screen, all of them with a full-time salary for a couple of years. It adds up really fast, even if you don't think they get paid very much. Some of them get paid well, some of them don't get paid so well. But even the ones that don't get paid so well, you sit there and start doing the math in your head, it adds up a lot. It becomes very, very expensive. That's why, I worked for a visual effects company for a couple of years, and we were just like a 4-person outfit, 4-person crew. And we would get in just a little shot to do in a movie, in a feature film, right? And doing a little 5 or 6 second shot would pay our entire company for like 2 months, just for doing a little 5 or 6 second shot, just one shot that we would be subcontracted to do. And that would pay all of us for months. I mean, it's expensive. It's really, really expensive. So it's a good question, but that's why it's very, very expensive. All right. Vincent Vasquez Sponsler writes, I'm going to a midnight showing of The Room is that Tendency? Good luck. I mean, listen, it's always a great film to watch in a crowd, especially a midnight screening. It's one of those so bad, it's amazing. You got to watch it. The Room is just one of those movies you have to see. You got to see it at least once, Vincent, and going to a midnight screening with probably a crowd of people actually sounds like a pretty fun thing to do. All right. Final question of the day, guys. And then we are wrapped up here. Man, it's a good thing because we're going on 3 hours and my voice is just about gone. All right. Anonymous viewer sends in top 8 Aaron Sorkin. Ooh, that's an interesting list. Top 8 Aaron Sorkin films. Number 1, A Few Good Men. So good. Number 2, Charlie Wilson's War. Very good. Number 3, Molly's Game. Amazing. Number 4, Steve Jobs. Number 5, Social Network. Really? You put Steve Jobs above Social Network? That's interesting. Number 6, American President. I love that. Michael Douglas is so good in that movie. And Annette Bening is great in it too. And number 7, Moneyball. Great. Number 8, Malice. Something about his writing just works for me. And that's not even counting TV. And then he's done some of the most iconic television ever. When you're talking about West Wing and Newsroom. Sorkin is one of the gods when it comes to writing. I love the way he writes. Particularly his use of didactic narrative really, really works. For a lot of times when writers are doing didactic narratives, sometimes it comes across as cumbersome. There's something about the way Aaron Sorkin does it that just flows, man. Like it just flows and flows well, tells the story, tells the narrative, and it's just really, really great to consume. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here. I had pulled up Claudia Gray's picture there because I'm like, oh, who's Claudia Gray? Thank you so much for being here on this Saturday. Again, I minorly apologize for the little bit of the man-child meltdown I had at the offset of the show. It just made me so hot. Just seeing somebody in that position being so insulting to the work I did, to the work that so many people did, to the fact that so many fans had committed to and supported over the years, and him just doing the double effers to everybody and then doubling down with his comments on knapsacks things and saying how the fans should have been thanking us. They should have been thanking us. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to get hot again. I'm not going to get hot again. But to say that it rubbed me the wrong way is an understatement. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the show. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of it. It is always an honor to have you guys here and always an honor to have you guys be a part of it. And I'm always honored that you guys would spend part of your weekend here with me and the rest of the film fan community as we talk about all this stuff in the film fan world that we love so much. Don't forget, guys, the John Campea Show returns again on Monday with me and Robert Meyer Burnett. The whole slew of those $50 questions that people sent in that are getting their own videos, those will be popping up on the website tomorrow because we have no live show tomorrow, but you're going to see a bunch of those standalone videos pop up on the site, on the channel, I should say, tomorrow. So keep your guys' eyes open for that. Again, guys, for everything, thank you so much. Time for me to go watch the Patriots probably play their last game of the season, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed anyway. Thanks so much for being here, guys. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.